welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Suriel Vasquez.
Hello.
And Joe Juba.
Hello.
Hell of a show here this week. Sorry we're one day late. We apologize, but we're going to make it up to you because we're talking about some juicy things. We can talk about Anthem, which everyone's talking about Anthem, but because we released the podcast today, we can talk about Anthem's Endgame content.
That's right.
Suriel, you're going to tell us what the credits look like and everything beyond that. Also, we're going to talk about Wargroove, which
That's
you reviewed.
right.
Very exciting. It's the Advance Wars, I say clone with affection, but Advance Wars clone. A little bit about Mortal Kombat 11, Crackdown 3 with Imran. You got to play that. That's super cool. We also have an episode of New Gameplay today for that if you want to see even more. We talk about Metroid Prime 4 and the crazy reboot. Joe, you must be very distraught over that.
Uh-huh.
Are you a Metroid Prime guy or just a 2D Metroid
No,
guy?
I like 2D Metroid, actually. I'm not a huge fan of Metroid Prime.
Even the first one?
I don't dislike it, but it's just not... It could be a different franchise for all I care, you know? Like
Wow.
it's just not really Metroid to me.
Wow, okay.
But-
We're going to talk about the Dreams beta, which is very odd and very exciting. Then some fun community emails. Then back half of the show, we make the argument that every game is interesting. And we make this argument by choosing from one of 7,724 random games that Game Informer has ever reviewed, completely randomly chosen, and there's 4 of us at the table. We have to give a 3-minute presentation for why our game is actually interesting. And the community has a pick as well. Theirs was Civilization 3. And so people, lovely people, wrote in emails. Leo will read those, and we have a special judge judging which game is secretly the most interesting.
Have you done this segment before?
Yeah, we did it once before. Tim Turi was the judge. It turns out that before, Jack X Combat Racing was interesting.
Huh.
That was the only one of the 3 that was interesting?
Well, it was the most interesting at least.
Okay.
Who wins this time? You tell me. I'm very excited for the special judge too.
I don't
should be a lot
remember
of fun.
this.
Yeah, it's an interesting format. Some people like it out there. I feel like the format could use a couple tweaks. But hey, listen.
Some people like it the once we've done it and never again until right now.
That's true. Also, speaking of teases, next week, new Game Informer cover story. That launches Tuesday, Joe.
It does.
Good God, we have some work to do.
You have to get started.
That's kind of real quick. But thanks for everybody that tuned in to learn about Sekiro. Shadows Die Twice. That hub is now overflowing and complete, and you can check it out. There's a lot of exclusive info in there. And I think this next one, Joe, is going to be a fun one. I think people are interested in this.
I'm excited for it.
That should be good. Okay, here we go. BioWare's Anthem. Let's get the lay of the land. So, Suriel, you went to BioWare?
To EA Redwood Shores.
Okay, and you got to play
necessarily
how much?
BioWare.
What was the experience like?
It was an all-day thing, more or less, basically. But it was broken up into 3 separate demos. One was sort of the beginning of the game, sort of a couple missions we can't really talk about because they're like the intro, and then a couple of the early missions, which I think some people played in the alpha. That was a while ago. And then we had basically what was the demo, the VIP demo that was out last week.
That Joe Juba you played a lot of.
Yep.
Great. Okay.
And then the last part was the end game. Well, what they told us was here is an end game session with a fully leveled character across stuff, like basically running the end game loops, or at least what they told us are the end game loops.
That's very
at
interesting.
launch.
If you had to quantify it, like how many hours did you spend playing Anthem?
I'd say like 5 or 6.
And if you had to quantify it, scale of 1 to 10 on the Game Informer review scale. No, I'm just joking.
Nope.
What was your takeaway though, Suriel? Just high level impression walking out of that studio.
I think I have a pretty good idea of what Anthem is going to be now.
Okay.
Across sort of like all the 3 of those demos, I think it is, on a basic level, it is that Destiny kind of like shooter.
It is. So I feel like they were messaging a fair amount like, it's not Destiny. Don't think of it exactly like Destiny. Maybe in our rapid fire when we were on the cover story trip.
I mean, one of the questions we asked was, is this a Destiny?
I think that was the first question. And Mark Dara, executive producer, his answer was no.
Well, it's not like they're going to say, oh yeah, we're just totally ripping them off.
I
It's
know, but you can say it's a living game or something.
Right. It is a living game, is sort of what I feel like it is.
I feel like we kind of knew that going in. Was there a
Right.
takeaway you didn't expect?
It's hard to know because I think some of the biggest questions that I still have about Anthem I think are on the late game, but I think it sort of fleshed out a lot of sort of vague impressions I think I had about the game.
Okay.
So I think the thing I came away with most is that I think classes are what is going to make this game.
Okay.
Versus sort of some of the individual activities. Like in Destiny, the classes are different, but besides sort of their jump, they don't feel fundamentally different. They have different abilities and supers, but the base is sort of the shooting action. Whereas in Anthem, it's way more about how your class is playing a role.
And the cool thing, as they explained at the cover story trip, was that idea that the classes are just the suits, and so you can swap out to different ones as well.
Right.
It's not like you're locked in for like, all right, I'm a warlock and no way out of it.
Unlike in something like Destiny where you have to,
log out of the game, log back in as another character.
Right.
And you
Or
have
start
to
a new character.
Yeah, level those characters up individually versus like, hey, I'm gonna hop in the storm suit and give that a shot.
It's somewhat like the class swapping is somewhat similar to Destiny's in that weapons sort of you can swap between characters, and that's sort of what your gear score is effectively what determines how powerful you are. So you can. It's a lot easier to swap. Sort of. I talked to Mike Dara while I was there. Mark Dara, sorry, and Mike Campbell. So kind of.
Did they fuse?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't know. Congratulations.
Into Mike Dara. Yeah. Okay. They did the fusion stance right in front of us. It was weird. So the biggest takeaway was that the classes are going to have a lot of variety even within those same classes. So with the fully leveled character, you have a lot of different abilities and sort of components to choose. That's sort of like this static modifier that you can choose from. And those are, I think, the thing that's going to be most customizable.
So what it seemed like from the footage you brought back, we did an episode of New Gameplay today,
right.
That you chose the Interceptor.
In the early, so I try to spread out across the classes. I chose the Interceptor early on, and then for the VIP demo segment, I played as the Colossus, and then for the Endgame, I played as the Storm.
Interesting.
Which
Joe,
kind of gave me a good idea of what everything is.
Yeah, for sure. What'd you play as in the demo, Joe?
Well, so everyone starts out as a ranger in the demo.
Oh, okay.
And then once you get to level 12, you get a token to unlock one more. And then, because they were hitting technical problems, they gave everyone tokens to unlock the other ones. So you were only supposed to get ranger and one other one.
Yeah.
And then by the end of the demo, basically everyone could just try all four. I played mostly Storm, to answer your question.
They seem the coolest. It's the most mystical, floaty one going out there.
I think there's going to be a Storm problem once we get into the full game where everyone's going to be playing Storm, because I feel like it's the most fun class.
I think, at least in my experience, conceptually the problem, like, it's not just that it's cool conceptually, which it is, but also mechanically, as they described it to us previously, it's like, oh, it's kind of the glass cannon.
Yeah.
Except it's not glass at all. It's the super-powered cannon that's also, like, at least in my experience.
I don't know if you want to play the steel cannon, I guess.
Yeah, no. So it's like I was playing the Ranger and having a good time with it, and then I started using the Storm, and I was just, like, destroying stuff in a way that, I was like, why would anyone want to be the Ranger when this is available?
Yeah.
So
it's also the flashiest one. Like, it's super. The ultimate ability is just this wave of like elemental explosions one after the other that you always just see, no matter what you're pressing, you always just see combo come up on the screen no matter what you're doing, and it's just this really impressive like light show basically.
There's a lot going on in that combat,
and you get extended hovering time as a Storm too.
Right, and your shield is stronger when you're hovering.
Yeah.
Which basically means like you're never hitting the floor as a Storm. You're always basically flying around. It's really cool.
Yeah. Did you leave the demo thinking like having more fun than you expected, Joe?
Well, so yes.
Okay.
Gameplay wise, yes. It's weird though, because when you're talking about a live service, whether it's Anthem or Destiny or whatever, like, it's really hard to separate your experience from a like gameplay and technical perspective, and there were a lot of like big technical issues with that demo over the weekend.
Outside of the launch? Because it got off to a super rickety launch.
It got off to a rocky start. Like, hardly anyone was able to play any substantial amount on that first day.
Right. You seem very into Mark Dara tweeting, the executive tweeting a picture of a guy just banging his head on a desk.
Well, nice. and of course, like, I can, like, understand on their part, they've been working on this game for years. It's finally sort of like the widest release that it's seen yet.
Right.
And then it's just sort of like the train grinding to a halt as, like...
It's also just that it builds into that larger storyline of, all right, this is a tough genre. Are you sure you want to do this, BioWare? Can you actually do this? And then the first, like, ta-da, they have is a faceplant.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right.
Yeah, but like, so it's hard to separate that kind of stuff from it, because even after that first day, there's this bug that was persisting throughout my whole weekend playing, of like basically an infinite loading screen. Like, it hits about 95% loaded and then just stops. So then you have to like close the app, reopen the app, resume where you were, go through another load screen, but this time usually it works. So there's a lot of like closing and restarting that was involved. So that made it hard to like get a good sense of the flow, right? Of like, gonna do a mission, gonna, group up with friends, gonna go back to the base, gonna go back out again, because like I was restarting every 20 minutes maybe or so.
Well, the good news with all these tech issues is that the game doesn't come out until 3 weeks from now. Like this is
If it's
coming
any
hot.
consolation, we also had some technical issues during the ears demo. Let's say
The which demo?
EA Redwood Shores.
Oh, okay. I am very curious to see what this thing is like at launch. And I feel like the internet, as more and more people gain access to this demo, like that outcry is already building. Like recently this week, it was like, there was a screenshot that was leaked essentially with some pricing that might not be final, but people were like,
it is absolutely not final. Like Casey Hudson had like addressed some of this in a tweet earlier today, I think.
But then it was $20 for a scan, and they're like, what the hell? But that's nice they addressed it in some way.
Yeah, I mean, he said something about like that is not a final economy going on.
The combo of BioWare fan base, BioWare criticism combined with living game criticism, like the level that community has to sustain, like this could be a perfect storm.
Yeah. Well, and there's I think also a question out there that like, I was tweeting some about Anthem, the last week or so, and like a question that I've seen a couple times is people being like, "Well, hey, maybe this isn't maybe you can't play this single player like they said you could."
By the way, this sounds like a very intelligent person asking this question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's just like part of it is like I feel like the communication on their part has been, this is built as a multiplayer game, designed as a multiplayer game, meant to be enjoyed as a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
If you really want to, you can like shoehorn
Right, a
single player experience out of the main story. But we wouldn't recommend that. It's sort of like the messaging that I've gotten on that, right?
Yeah, it's a little Monster Hunter-y.
Yeah. But it seems like some people have interpreted that as BioWare coming out and being like, hey, if you love single player, this is a single player game. But if you love friends, it's like, no,
don't do it.
I wouldn't. So like I tried that as someone who is generally a single player gamer. Like I tried doing that over the VIP weekend and was like, all right, I'm going to just try this mission solo. And it was not going well for me.
Just impossible.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would be possible, but I was still learning the game at that point too.
Doable,
so
but not
like,
fun, I think.
Yeah. I think doable, but not fun is a good way to describe it. So then, going against basically every instinct I have, I just went into like, let's just do random matchmaking.
Oh my God.
Like
Did your skin invert itself?
whoever's out there, let's do a mission. And I did several, like I played for several hours like that, just with people I don't know.
We're talking to him?
No.
Okay.
But you don't really need to though either.
Yeah,
like that's the
nothing
thing.
in Anthem that I've played felt like you need any like high degree of coordination.
That seems like a bad sign to me. Don't you want that level? Isn't the game going to shine for like, all right, I'm going to use this special at this point. You will go over there.
I think when you're talking, I guess Suriel, you can prove me wrong, but like when you're dealing with the higher level like strongholds, like the things that are really geared more sort of like Destiny strikes, you might need to do that. But
Okay.
I wasn't doing much of that stuff. So
I think
just
it
doing-
scales
Yeah.
pretty. Like they talked about how they're going to have multiple difficulties. Like that he mentioned or Mike Gamble mentioned that the highest difficulty is Grandmaster 3, which is like incredibly impossible. And I think once you have those difficulties, I think that's when you're going to want to coordinate.
Yeah.
But like even playing at the demo, and then playing the VIP demo, when I was playing with a group of friends, we were mostly just shooting the shit. Like we weren't like coordinating, and we were having fun. Like it felt like a lighter, more casual version of sort of the living shooter. In that I'm not sure if there will be raids. They haven't talked about anything like that, but it definitely feels like they are keeping it sort of like not super easy, but like your friends are there to sort of facilitate as extra damage, more so than like, okay, you need to grab this ball and I need to grab this ball and then we need to throw them at the same time. 3, 2, 1, go. And
Right.
There's not there wasn't anything like that highly coordinated.
Right. And so you mentioned, I always thought that the strongholds were going to be the equivalent of raids if you just want to stay in Destiny world, but it is more strikes?
It is more like strikes in that
Okay.
here's just a series of tougher encounters that where the enemies like they have elite bars and they have skulls that to indicate like, hey, take this enemy seriously.
Yeah.
And some of the bosses have like some different mechanics. Like the one I played, in that demo, I played a mission called the Temple of Scar, which is basically it was the most fun I've had playing Anthem. In that I had a fully leveled character, which meant I was practicing different builds, sort of getting a lot. By then I knew the game well enough to where I was practicing how to deal with enemies. The arenas were a lot larger, and so I was using like for the most part in the demo, it felt like flying was how you got to from point A to point B.
Yeah.
You weren't using it a lot mid-combat, but here there were arenas that were large enough and sort of like intricate enough that you had to use flight to maneuver to like turrets that were super high above you.
And I take it flying's still the star of this show, right?
So fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really it's really well done. It's a little finicky on PC, I think, but it takes some getting used to. But then the boss also had like you couldn't just like, hey, it's the boss, shoot it a whole bunch and it'll die. You had to sort of disable these different shields that were basically making it invulnerable. And even that, it wasn't like a high level of like intricacy, but it was enough to where like it was more engaging than just a bullet sponge.
Yeah. Did either of you guys get a sense of progression? Do you feel like it's going to be a long road?
So you can level from 10 to 15 in the demo.
Okay. And have they set a max level?
30 is the cap. And then you can get gear. The gear that I was getting in the endgame session was 36. But you can still equip it, and it's just, I think it's supposed to be a signifier of how much stronger it is than your current level.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know how final that is even.
Yeah.
But like,
those are all a lot of numbers and tuning that'll probably change.
Happen
But
on
like-
Wednesday.
speaking of progress, like the thing that I'm most curious about, I guess, like quickly to answer your question, like like gear level progression.
Just RPG wise, is it satisfying? I guess is the core of it.
Yeah, I mean, I was excited when I got a new kind of weapon or a new kind of like component that I could install that let me shoot fireballs instead of icicles and things like that.
Yeah.
And like that kind of stuff is rewarding. I was excited to go out there and try out like new grenades, new guns, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the question that I have for Suriel is, did you in any of your time get a sense of like story progression at all? Because like how that main story unfolds, how Fort Tarsis responds, how the characters respond to the things you do. Like for me, that is the big unknown that the demo doesn't touch at all.
Yeah, that I don't think was clear from the demo. I think because these sessions were all disjointed, it was hard to get a sense of like, what is different in Tarsus now? How have I shaped that location over the course of a game?
So just to be clear, Tarsus is like the main city in the game,
Right,
and that's
hub.
where you get all your missions. And in theory, most of the story stuff will happen. Then you go out on these missions, go back, and then your Tarsus is only single player, and it'll kind of change a little bit.
Yeah, though they've also in the last couple of weeks talked about, and maybe this is even going to be live for the demo this weekend. I think it is. Don't hold me to that. But that they've added a sort of like social space which they didn't have before.
Yeah, they had a hub. You can mess around in that hub in the demo that I played, but this is more like Destiny's Tower than Tarsus is, because Tarsus is a completely isolated instance where you're sort of just going around and getting story bits and contracts and things like
Right.
that. Whereas this is like, hey, we're waiting for one person to ready up, so we're just gonna mess around in this area.
And it's also in Tarsus?
It's like a part of it, but sort of separate.
It's like an interstitial space, like a loading bay, I think they're calling it. So it's
okay.
like when we went to go see the game, Ben, it was like you're single player in Fort Tarsus, and out. Then the only other step is you're out in the world with other people.
Yeah.
And this is a sort of intermediary step where you're not out in the world doing missions and stuff, but you can still like it's a social hub. You can still like interact with other players.
And the idea being that it's easier to go from like, hey, we got back from a mission to another mission in that hub space versus Tarsus where you land from a mission, do a bunch of story stuff, and then head out on the next one. This is if you want sort of a faster, like, okay, we're in a group, we want to get a couple missions done, let's just bang them out really quick.
Yeah.
Like that is sort of the point of that hub space.
Okay, interesting. And so there was no real setup, and then the story was basically just conversations, like codex, essentially?
The early missions had a lot more story that sort of fleshed out, like, hey, here's why, here's sort of your motivation as the freelancer. You went through the tutorial stuff. You saw more cutscenes that showed you some of the backstory of Fort Tarsus, and sort of there was this flashback cutscene that sort of detailed, like, here's how this particular fortress fell. So that was the most story that we got. But as for how sort of the progression of the story stuff goes, I didn't get like a really good sense of that.
Sure, I get it. And then in mission, though, like it was just a lot of radio chatter?
Yeah, a lot of the radio chatter, for sure.
Okay. Did you have any sense? Was it annoying? Was it fine? Was it interesting?
Like, again, because it felt like, well, for one, it was, you have this priority of like, okay, I'm playing with friends. This is a kind of a new environment. I need to figure out who I'm going to play with. It was like what was actually happening in the context of the story was sort of like the furthest thing from my mind. And the story didn't really it wasn't really front facing as much as you'd want it to. Like, if you think about playing any individual Destiny mission out of context, it feels like there's not a lot going on. It's just
Right.
like playing those in succession. That's where that's when those threads develop. So, and because everything was so separated, I never got like a through line through any of it. So it was hard to determine.
Here's the juicy nugget: is that Endgame stuff?
Yeah.
What are they saying about Endgame? And what did you play? What was it like?
So like I said, I played that Temple of Scar mission, which I think is like the best part of Anthem I've played so far. I played that Tyrant Mine Stronghold, which everyone played in the demo, and then I played a Legendary Contract, which is somewhere between like a story mission and a strike. It's sort of like this, basically the thing you are repeating to get loot drops like that isn't a stronghold, sort of the thing you're doing to accomplish daily challenges, monthly challenges, things like that. And those feel a little lighter. Those feel like, hey, this is the thing I'm doing today. And then like a little bit more casual fun. I think you can probably do those more easily by yourself in just regular matchmaking.
Yeah.
But other than that, it didn't feel like significantly different. Besides the fact that you're sort of repeating the same missions over and over, it didn't feel significantly different from what people have played of it so far, besides the fact that you are doing it in different areas. One other thing that kind of stood out to me is that, in a lot of games like this, there is this environmental diversity, and even these late game missions were still in that same sort of lush jungle biome that we've come to associate with Anthem. Like there wasn't like, here's the desert world or here's like this other location. And I get that, like, they don't want to have like, here's the fire level, here's the ice level, but I think like Destiny has different planets that you go to, right? And those feel distinct. Warframe has a lot of like expansive areas that you can explore. And I didn't get that sense, after playing Anthem, like even in what they're saying is the end game stuff. Like it felt a little too similar to the early game stuff.
That's interesting. It looks gorgeous, but it's like, are we going to get sick of this?
A lot of really cool open spaces, but it's like the just the geometry of it looks a little too similar, I think.
Totally. Did they, just messaging wise, were they trying to downplay endgame stuff, or were they saying like, oh no, like you're going to be sticking with this game for a long time?
I mean, I think they did talk about that. I have an interview up already about how sort of they plan to support it. And a lot of that is contingent on what the community sort of sticks to. So if they say, hey, we want more story stuff, they'll orient themselves towards adding additional story beats over the course of the game's life. If they like a lot of the strikes and they like strongholds, if they are into the repeatable stuff, and they'll iterate more on that. They do have like additional event kinds of activities that are coming post launch. So like, that stuff is still a question mark, but they do plan to have sort of that long tail.
That's kind of scary that they're like, oh, we'll wait and see. It's just like that pipeline, like I don't know how quickly they can get stuff out.
I imagine they have stuff planned already. It's just how they'll pivot later on.
Okay.
Yeah, because like to me, I don't know, that seems smart. I mean, like you said, I'm sure that there's some work done on all these fronts. I don't think they're just like, well, let's see what happens.
Everyone takes 2 weeks
off
off
for a couple weeks. Yeah.
What? People beat the game? Oh,
But,
Christ.
I think you're begging for trouble if you have it in your head, like what. If you think you know what the community is going to want for a game that isn't launched yet.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
Okay. Any other big takeaways we haven't hit?
Like as much as I like the classes and stuff, I feel like the gear is sort of the area where it falls short. I did talk to Mike about they will have like these masterwork weapons which are supposed to be flashier. They have these visual indicators and they're supposed to be a little bit more. Their effects are a little bit more beyond stat based, but I got like one masterwork drop and it was just a component that you hear a bunch of really high stats, and that was kind of disappointing because like this is their in-game demo. I expected to have like a weapon that was different and felt unique, but they didn't have those, and I don't know if that's just them sort of like maybe not putting together the best demo that represents the game, or if that's just that stuff isn't there. But for the most part, it feels like the guns, beyond the fact of like, hey, this one's more powerful than the one I got before. Individual like kinds of weapons don't feel super different. Like if 2 heavy pistols felt more or less the same, there wasn't like a different firing effect or cadence to them. And so the guns feel like, here's what I'm doing when I don't have my cool powers available. Like when that stuff is on cooldown, I just shoot, and that's sort of like the passive how you deal damage. And a lot of it is a third-person perspective, like in Destiny, because you see the guns up close. You know, it's easier to sort of become familiar with them. Whereas here, I never felt like all the guns feel more or less interchangeable. That was sort of my takeaway from it.
Okay.
But I mean,
There are different types of guns. Like there's marksmanship rifles, which are like 3-shot bursts. There's light machine guns. But like between like even in Destiny, like even different auto rifles can feel different versus like here where they all feel more or less similar. And a lot of it is because we are getting a lot of that early game stuff. Those differences become more exaggerated like once you get into the end game. But even in the end game, they didn't feel as different as I think I was expecting them
Then
to.
I guess my question is: does the other gear that you get, those other components and stuff that you
I think
install,
those are the more crucial.
Add the variety,
right?
that
is how you tool like your class to have like different spell effects, different elements. The components I think can sort of orient you. Do you want to be beefier? Do you want to be sort of like faster? Do you want to have focus more on melee? I think that's going to be where the customization is, where I can tailor the effects of my class specifically, but not like I didn't get that same sense from the guns that I was using.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's maybe like set your expectations more towards the class than the guns, which is sort of where a lot of these games have sort of emphasized their differences.
Some people will be disappointed by what you said about like the end game activities feeling very similar.
Right.
I guess on some level, I kind of expected that. Just and not even that it's good, but it just sort of seems almost
Right.
like expected. Like an end game on any like MMO or
Sure.
Like there's a lot of grinding.
I think it's less about me being disappointed. I think it's like I think if you were expecting, I'm trying to set expectations.
Yeah,
Like if you were expecting something like wildly different, the end game to be wildly different in terms of what you were actually doing, I think like that is maybe a little too high. I think you are running the same activities for this gear.
Yeah. So that's ultimately, I guess, what my question about it was. Is like I'm okay with a little repetition at the end game, I guess.
Yeah.
But for me, if that's not worth it, then it's a
Right.
problem.
And I think
so. It's like what's the carrot on the stick? What's driving you to do those loops?
Right.
Did you get a good sense
I
of
think
that?
usually it would be to have like I'm trying to do this activity so I can get this really cool gun, and I like that still feels like a question mark because we didn't have those weapons available.
Okay.
So that is sort of the question mark. But if they said here's our end game demo, right? So
Yeah.
if this is what they're showing us, then I guess I'm a little disappointed. But
And the carrot that they're showing you is these masterwork weapons that, in your opinion, were
well, like that's the thing. They didn't have any masterwork weapons for us to see, and I got a masterwork item that was just like a stat boost for.
Okay.
So that is sort of where I'm trading cautiously. And I talked to Mike. He or Mark. He said that those masterwork weapons are going to like look and feel distinct, but it's hard to know for sure, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is still a little bit of a question mark. That is kind of a concern.
I know we're going to be reviewing this game soon, but after your time playing it, for both of you, more optimistic or more pessimistic? Like, where's like your hype level going in, and then after getting your hands on it, how did that needle trajectory change?
For me, so like when we talked about anticipated games of 2019,
It was number one, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was number one. So for me, like it's not like sky high. I was already pretty excited about it. I would say that the needle moved in two opposite directions to end up basically where it was before. And that's
Technically down,
Technically,
gameplay up.
I was like, oh man, this could be a huge disaster if this stuff keeps going.
Yeah.
And gameplay wise, I think it was a little like it was better than I was expecting.
Joe, that was a very satisfying answer. Surreal top his answer.
I actually have a very similar answer in that like, I was very surprised by like the classes. I think I did not go into thinking like they were going to be as distinct and cool to play like individually as I thought they were going to be. But like with some of the gun stuff and some of the a lot of the shooting can feel like it doesn't feel super involved. So I ended up sort of about where I was before. I think overall,
Which was
like I'm excited. I'm going to play this game. Like I want to play this game with like
willing to play is the hype level.
Well, I've already convinced like two other people that we're going to roll as a group, basically.
Oh, great.
And so we just need a fourth on PC if anyone's available. So we are going to play this game as a group, but I think like my expectations are tempered more towards like hey, we're just going to hop on Discord and mess around with a while, and Anthem will be the thing that we're doing.
Yeah.
Versus like, all right, everyone, like it's raid night. Let's take this very seriously and like let's try
Take
to
off
get
your
through
Anthem
this.
cosplay.
That's
We're
right.
going in, boys.
That's right.
Well, and based on Suriel, like, from what I've heard from Suriel about it too, it's like the question that is still unanswered for me, like, isn't whether I'm going to play Anthem, I'm going to play it. It's like whether I will keep playing it.
Right.
And that's the one that I want the answer to be yes. I want a game like that, but like no game has ever gotten its hooks in me like that
Stardew
before.
Valley.
Well, Stardew Valley,
understand.
yes,
It's
but
different beast. I
that's not a game as service thing.
I get it.
That's
should
just
be,
that's
but
just
I
a
get it.
long game. That's not a game with like a
Exactly.
robust ending.
Exactly.
I get it. Great. A lot of stuff on the site, right?
Yeah. We
Interviews,
have
stuff like that?
Full preview. We have an interview with Mike Gamble. So
Sweet.
check that all out.
This is the most important question, though. Have you noticed? I think we've talked about it in the office before. Joe, more than anybody else, says Suriel. I say Surreal. What is the best pronunciation of your name?
I mean, I don't. I kinda
Who's
don't
closer?
Because like, the most common pronunciation I hear is in Spanish, and that's Suriel.
Like,
But I don't want to hear that out of either of your mouths.
Right. Okay. I can help with that. Yeah. Does it bump you when Joe says his pronounces it his way?
No, I think those both. I have had lots of people pronounce it both ways. I think so.
I mean, when he started, I asked specifically, is it Surreal or Suriel? And he pointed me towards the second one.
yeah,
So-
I think if I had to lean one way, I would point towards
Surreal.
Surreal.
Okay.
So
I
that's
stand corrected.
in the same way that like I say JV instead of JV because he said that's technically the way to
Hang
do
on,
it.
have I been blowing everybody's name this entire time? It's Leo, right?
It's Leah.
Oh, all this time.
You just ask how to say someone's name and then do it. And some people like Suriel here and JV were both sort of like, whatever. It's like, don't shrug it off. That is your name, and it is not an imposition. It is not an imposition to say,
The
this
reason-
is how you say my name.
I have had this conversation so many times over the years that I have just given up at this point. I'm just
I'm
like,
so
look,
sorry.
say it however you want, man.
Have you ever thought of
as
going
long
by-
as you are saying, as long as you're not like calling me Suriel or Surreal, like as long as you are not actively making fun of my name,
Yeah.
go for it.
Speaking of which, if you're looking for a segment where we actively make fun of Surreal's name, stay tuned for the community email section where the grand return of Surreal's cereal eating challenge. So please look forward to that. Okay, for now, Joe, do you want to clap out?
yeah, okay.
Hey, Brian Shea.
Hello.
Looking stylish.
Thanks.
How much money do you spend on clothes?
$7 million.
Seriously, okay. Clothing budget.
What's a budget?
Okay, every 6 months, how much money do you spend on
I
clothes?
have no idea.
No BS,
Think I
though.
track any of this?
You're a
It's
very
just
good-looking
chaotic.
man.
It's just chaos in my wallet.
I mean, so every 6 months, we talking $300?
Sure.
Okay.
I don't know.
Suriel, what's your number?
I don't know. I think it's like I don't buy clothes all that often anymore. I used to for a while.
Yeah,
but I think
Wait, are we
it's
throwing
taken-
shoes in there?
I guess.
Because I like a good pair of shoes.
How often you buy new shoes?
I'd say every 3 months.
Jesus
I think
Christ.
the last time
Okay.
I bought a pair of shoes was like 2 years ago.
Yeah, mine are actually just paper bags that are wrapped around my feet. Wargroove.
Yeah.
Hey, Advance Wars fans, come one, come all. It's
That's
a game, Advance Wars, that Suriel bragged. He thought about every single day.
I don't know that was that a brag?
Yeah, I think
sounds
so.
like a brag.
You're obsessed with Advance Wars. It's fair to say.
I love it. It's one of my favorite games of all time.
And Wargroove is a new game that's out on everything, including Switch
It's out on PS4 later. I think in March.
and Xbox One.
Xbox One is up for pre-order. I'm not entirely sure when it's out.
Okay, but for sure PC and
Switch and
Switch.
PC.
is
All right.
tomorrow.
Systems
Or
or
today.
matter. Okay, great. And you love this game.
I love it. It's fantastic.
You gave it a.
9.25.
That's stunning. It looks a lot like Advance Wars.
It is a lot like Advance Wars, but it makes a lot of very smart changes that I think make it stand out. It's not just like another sort of clone, because we've gotten a few of those. We've gotten like Tiny Metal and a couple of others over the years, and those always feel like they were either a little too similar and felt kind of boring, or like in Tiny Metal's case, I think just the encounters and the mission design was just not up to par, and like the story was frankly kind of boring.
Right. And so this is Chucklefish, publisher of Stardew Valley.
Yeah, those
Strangely, they're maybe
Chucklefish.
most known for. But the British studio, we had them on the podcast a while ago. They're lovely Starbound developers, correct?
Yes.
Isn't that the name of their game? That's great.
Stardew Valley, they published it, but they didn't
Publish
develop
it, and now they're not the publisher anymore, which is very bizarre.
Not anymore.
Yeah, except for on the mobile and Switch versions. Look, the industry's complicated. Brian Shea, how much Wargroove have you played?
I've played a few hours, and I am thoroughly enjoying it.
Are you a big Advance Wars fan?
I played a little bit of it back in the day, but I never sat down and was like, all right, I'm gonna play through this entire game. I petered out at some point.
Right, we all do. The okay, so turn-based strategy. Is it hard?
It can be, but there's
That was my
in the
answer.
campaign they have a pretty generous difficulty slider, so you can modify different aspects to your liking, like how much damage you take, how much income you receive from bases and stuff. So you can sort of take if you're sort of the thing you're having trouble with is I don't know how to manage sort of the economy. I'm not sure which units to make at the right time. You can sort of just get a whole bunch of gold and just go make the strongest units and always just overwhelm your opponent.
It's probably the thing that impresses me the most about Wargroove is how customizable the experience is. Whether you're talking about all those weird sliders that you can adjust in the actual game itself, down to like creative, like user generated content.
Right.
Like it's crazy.
They have a super in-depth map editor.
Ooh.
In that not only can you make your own maps, but you can interlink them in a campaign.
Oh, that's
where you
awesome.
can select from like several overworld maps. You can select sort of like different icons for each mission to say like, here's a basic mission,
a
here's a
castle.
fortress
Yeah.
that indicates that this is a hard or like a huge mission, and then you can edit cutscenes. So there's sort of like stage plays in that you can sort of say, hey, this character comes in from the left angrily, and they say
you can write out what
you
they
can
say?
write out the dialogue. You
That's
can say,
so funny.
They have a lot of like pre-recorded voice lines, so you can say like, hey, here's one of like 20 individual voice lines that this character can say.
So
and
it's
then
like the Fire Emblem thing. They come on the screen, they're like, "Hey!" And then there's like the text.
Yeah, and
oh,
then there's
that's
like
awesome.
the text, and so you can make the text big or small if you want someone yelling or whispering. It's like really in depth, and like even beyond that, there's a lot of like, I want to play Wargroove, but what do I feel like doing? I don't know that I feel like taking on a whole campaign mission. There are these little puzzles where it's like, they're chess puzzles where it's like, hey, take out all of these enemies in one turn, or like destroy the enemy fortress in one turn.
I wonder if, I know it's weird, it's been a long time since Advance Wars came out, and so I wonder if there's an audience that loved Into the Breach last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like that's an easy conversion?
I feel like a lot of people made the Advanced Wars comparison, and from my time with Into the Breach, I don't feel like it sticks because I
Sure.
think like Into the Breach felt more like putting together or taking apart a puzzle.
Yeah.
Whereas this feels more like turn-based StarCraft. I think if that's like, I think that's the closest analogy in that you sort of see these puzzles forming and that, okay, here's what my enemy has. Here he has a knight, so I need a pikeman to counter it. It's more about that, like of thinking on the fly about sort of different missions and how those things happen, versus like I have 4 moves. I need to figure out what, like it's more malleable, I think, than a lot of the missions in Into the Breach, which isn't like it's not bad in Into the Breach.
Yeah.
I think it is different. I think if you go in with the expectation that this is like Into the Breach or that Into the Breach is like Advance Wars, I think you'll end up disappointed.
Yeah.
But they're both really good.
Yeah. Shay, you digging the style so far?
I am, and I love that like you have to pay extra close attention to all like what each unit's critical hits are. Crit hit.
Critical. They're just called
yeah.
critical hits because they're not. It's not like, hey, randomly like in Fire Emblem, hey, this person will do triple damage.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
more situational. Like the knight, if he moves his entire like 6 spaces, that's when he gets his critical.
Yeah,
hit.
because he has like momentum built
Right,
up.
so he's, like,
theoretically.
charging the idea.
And then like the rangers, like because they are like bow and arrows, if they don't move in their turn, they get like a critical hit.
Right.
Or
like ballistas, or trebuchets, if you fire at the enemy from their maximum distance, that's when they do their critical hit. Knights not knights. Regular soldiers are stronger when they're around their commander, which is sort of like a big difference to Advance Wars, I think, in general. But Days of Ruin did this, where your commander is on the field, and then they're the strongest unit you have, but if they die, you lose. But
Right.
they also have these like powers, like the main sort of character can heal everyone near her by 3. But there's a lot of different ones. Like I think probably my favorite commander is Nuru because she can just act as a portable base where when her power is full, you just summon a unit right next to her and it's like ready to go. So if you place her right, which I did once, was you're right next to the enemy base, summon a trebuchet, it's at max distance and does like a ton of damage and it won me around.
Badass.
So and there's one character who basically can jump, can move her full distance and then jump an extra distance and deal a bunch of damage everywhere. So like that stuff I think is really cool. They do a lot with the mission design in that it does a really good job of like, hey, this mission is catered around this particular unit.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a tutorial, but it's also challenging in its own right. So it doesn't feel like it's just throwing text at you.
This feels like a great game to have on your Switch.
Oh,
It is.
yeah.
And there's 2 modes of view even in the Switch version because like when you're docked, you see the entire battlefield. But when you undock, there's an option to have it zoom in, so it's a little more readable.
That's very smart.
And that's super cool. You can disable battle animations if you want just want to go fast, or you can just individually skip individual ones.
Okay.
By holding down the button. I think the story is like okay. I think one of my favorite things about Advance Wars is the characters and like their music specifically spoke a lot to those characters' personalities.
Yeah.
I don't think that's as strong here. But I think it makes up for it by refining a lot of what made Advance Wars great in that you were managing these different aspects and how they intertwined. I think it's like in terms of like Advance Wars clones, this is as close as we're gonna get to a new Advance Wars until Nintendo decides to make one.
Right. It's the Mewtwo to Mew, like a perfect clone.
That's right.
Almost superior clone in some ways. Wargroove 9.25.
Yeah.
That's super exciting. Brian Shea,
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat fan number 1.
I love Mortal Kombat.
Do you really?
I do.
That's very
I think I
cute.
reviewed Mortal Kombat 10 for us.
Ah,
Back
that's
before
right.
the pre-Suriel days.
That's right. And you went to a big Mortal Kombat event.
Yeah, they had their whole sort of gameplay reveal because they got announced at the Game Awards, but this was sort of the first time that we got to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to play it for a few hours.
Okay, most importantly, what was that event like?
It's kind of kitschy and weird. It was, it's the Mortal Kombat aesthetic of like a lot of like, temples and dungeons and things like that. There's just a straight up a place where you could just go in and break glass or something.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, I saw some of the videos. It was
just like you go into this room. I was too busy working to like do
Break
that.
glass.
I'm not like an influencer, so I don't have the time to just walk around and schmooze.
Uh-huh.
So but I was just like the entire time I was there, I was just hearing glass break every couple minutes. It was weird.
I guess like you just waited in line and then you could go in this like enclosed space and throw like breakable objects up against walls and the ground and
What the
stuff.
hell's going on here?
Yeah, it was this weird thing, but like
Basically throw a temper tantrum in a room.
They showed off the game. They sort of confirmed a lot of the rumors of like Ronda Rousey being Sonya. They showed off like 7, I think, of the characters, and they basically went into some of the systems that a lot of the stuff they're changing for this.
And
game.
we'll get into all that stuff very quickly. Did you meet Ed Boon?
Yes,
Was it your first time meeting him?
first time meeting him in person.
Okay.
I've interviewed him before, but
What is it like? Butterflies in your stomach?
I tend to be pretty good about sort of meeting like industry luminaries and not being super nervous. Like I tend to get kind of tense when I'm about to meet them, but once I see them, I'm like, all right, this is just a regular person.
Once you realize, hey, at From Software, Miyazaki's just a big old dorko.
yeah,
it's like, okay.
he's just some guy. Like
Yeah, yeah.
all these people are just some guy, right?
Or some girl.
Or some girl. They're just some person, like they're like you and me,
Right.
So that went like pretty well. And then I got to play I played one match against former intern Michael Larry, and then I played like a couple hours of it sort of by myself, just sort of testing out some of the tower stuff and going into basically trying to turn the regular game into training mode to learn some of the characters.
Yes, Brian Shea.
So I met Ed Boon for the first time like 3 years ago, probably. And I told him about how Mortal Kombat on Game Gear was the first video game that ever got me into trouble with my parents.
Oh.
Because they bought it because there was no blood in it. And then I found a blood code in a Game Pro magazine, and the wheels fell off from there.
That's a fun idea. The blood code and
Yeah.
it's just squirting all over the place. Speaking of blood, that every new piece of footage that's released for Mortal Kombat, it's a lot. There's a lot going on there.
They're really into that violence.
Oh God, what do you think about Ronda Rousey? Brian Shea, as UFC fan number 1, Mortal Kombat fan number 1. You into this? You are the Venn diagram for this crap.
I think it's fine. Like, I don't know, she acts when she does WWE stuff and when like she's been in a few movies, so like she can do a voice and like she's a fighter, so why not? But like I don't know,
It's weird to like redesign Sonya to kind of like
it
look
is,
at her, right?
but like
Yeah.
also it takes place in the future, right? So like it makes sense kind of that
the
she
timeline
would've-
is a little weird. It's after MKX, but the whole idea is that like after MKX, the idea being that the good guys won and now they're too strong. There needs to be balance. So this lady named Chronica is sort of manipulating time to.
But Raiden's also corrupted, right?
Yeah, I mean, but he's like, I'm just a really mean good guy. Is sort of where he's at versus
That's
like
how you
I
describe
don't-
yourself.
Well,
too.
with the introduction of time travel, I think a giant bomb, they're talking about it, and like this new character that just allows them then to now they can pull from any era.
Right.
They can bring back the kids, whatever the hell they want to do.
and,
Right.
and they're sort of leaning a lot into the customization with that stuff, where you can have a lot of different scorpions that look like they're from across various types of various eras of Mortal Kombat.
So this new character is like teleporting in a specific spear that was made in 1993. That's the lore.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay.
That's maybe the implication. But yeah, that's sort of like the big thing is that they're sort of iterating on the Injustice gear system for one, it's totally divorced cosmetically, so you can make your Scorpion look however you want. But then you can also say, hey, instead of so like by default, Scorpion Spear doesn't let you combo anymore, but you can sort of modify it to let you do that. Or you can sort of say, instead of that, I'm just going to have a new attack string where you use the spear at the end of the combo automatically.
Gotcha.
So there's a lot of stuff like that. they're changing a lot of like the under the hood stuff, and we go into it in our new gameplay today of the game. We sort of delve into some of the differences, but overall, I like a lot of the ways they're changing it. I like how they're sort of emphasizing more of like just neutral game. I like Scarlett's redesign. I like her. I think it's a pretty strong sort of change for that character.
Yeah.
They showed off a bunch of characters outside of the main 7. Like they showed off Cassie Cage. Shao Kahn's like a pre-order character.
Oh.
Cabal's probably in it based on a tease that they had at the event.
Yeah. And like more high level stuff. It seemed like from reading your interview with Ed Boon, which is on the site, that idea that like they're slowing things down a little bit. They want it to be more intimate.
Mortal Kombat was a lot about being in your opponent's face and just like doing these like attack string mix-ups that basically got them to open up and take damage. And the combos were way longer. So in this, the combos are shorter, but you are also sort of reset a lot more often into like, okay, now I have to jockey for position. So that stuff I think is sort of for the better. And the meters, I think they changed them all, but like the short version is basically there were a lot of different options you could do with the same meter, which meant that like a lot of newer players didn't want to use sort of like the breaker, which got you out of combos because they wanted their super. Okay. So now all those things they have their own meter, so that you're more encouraged to use different options. You're more encouraged to amplify moves to extend combos. There's a lot of the interactables in the arena. They work with those meters, but like you always have your super when you're low on health.
Okay.
So they want you to mess around with the different systems of play, and I think they're doing a pretty good job of like encouraging everyone to sort of use more of the tool set.
Optimistic, pessimistic?
Yeah, I'm super optimistic. Like I can't wait. It's like my most anticipated game.
I'm very excited about this game as well. It's probably in my top 2.
What is your number 1?
I don't know. I was just trying to think of another game that I don't know.
Yoshi's Crafted World.
Definitely. I am excited for that. Hey, let's talk about that now.
Yeah, it's going to be a great time. Great. Mortal Kombat 11, interviews on the site, all that fun stuff. Brian Shea, anything else you want to get off your chest real quick?
No.
Anything
when he has a fatality, all right, Scorpion, he heats up his spear, he pierces you, and then he jumps over you, and as he's splitting you in half, he teleports behind you and then up on the other side, and then he pulls it, and it breaks you in half.
I've been meaning to ask you, is that cool?
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
Sure.
It's one of the more creative ones. I think a lot of the ones where it's like, I'm going to punch you in the back of your head and your skull is going to like fly out of your face.
Yeah, I've seen that 1,000 times.
Sometimes it's a little like, and the other thing is that like in the, like watching, the more matches you watch, the more bored you get of it. Of just like, I've seen this fatality 1,000 times.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it again.
Yeah, I like the crushing blows as opposed to the X-ray moves.
Those are really cool because they're sort of like critical hits in Wargroove, actually, in that they're these situational moves that can have extra impact or let you combo for longer under certain conditions. And I think but you only get them once per match. So it's sort of like, hey, this is the combo that I'm gonna use my crushing blow on. Are they gonna try to fall out of it?
Right.
So there's a lot of interplay there with the crushing blows, and they look like they're basically like mini X-rays in that like it'll zoom in and they show like the ribs cracking.
Are the X-rays completely gone?
Those are the fatal blows now.
Okay, that's what I figured.
Beautiful. Hey, Mortal Kombat 11, very exciting. For now, do both of you want to clap out or high five? That'd be cute.
Well, high five.
Kyle Hilliard.
Hey.
And Imran Khan.
Howdy.
Skyping in from San Francisco, our news laddie.
That's your new title, by the way. I hope you like it.
News laddie? Okay.
We can't
it feels
change
like
it
a
back.
bump, but we'll see.
That's fine. And news laddie is making news. Crackdown 3. You got to play this game at an event recently?
I did. Microsoft had an event to... I feel like this is not the first time they've let people play Crackdown, but it's the first time in a while.
Yeah, I feel like we've been waiting for Microsoft to make a big push because it seems like all their messaging about Crackdown 3 has been a trailer with a dabble of Terry Crews and some Phil Spencer apologies of like, it'll come out all right. They're prepping it in a very under the radar way.
I think I played it briefly in 2017, and I was talking to Cork this morning, and he played it at Gamescom a couple years ago.
Okay.
So it has been a while for sure.
And now you get to play how much of it?
I got to play about an hour of multiplayer and an hour of the campaign.
Okay.
From the beginning of the campaign, or just kind of plopped in the middle?
Plopped in the middle,
okay.
With a stat or with a cop that has some stats that you can actually play around with.
Nice.
Okay, and the big takeaway was the high level takeaway?
It feels like Crackdown.
And that's a
good thing.
That is a complicated thing, but it's better than I came in with.
Cool.
Yeah, we recorded an episode of New Gameplay today if you want to see even more gameplay footage for Crackdown 3. But sitting in on that, like the big takeaway I had is like it looks older than I expected. Mm-hmm. And it looks, it's got a little jank around the edges there. But at the same time, it still kind of looks fun.
Yeah, I that's pretty much how I felt. Like it's like, oh, this is clearly not the evolution of open world games that I don't even want to say Crackdown 1 was, but it is Crackdown 1. It is, they skipped over Crackdown 2 and went, okay, we're just going to make that game again, but a bit more modern and a bit more tightly controlled.
And plus, you said the 4 magic words that the developers referenced that Kyle Hilliard would be very into, Imran, which you recall is talking about the game structure.
Breath of the Wild?
Yeah!
Oh, okay. I like this game.
So what did they
I
say
only
exactly?
got that because of you said Kyle.
What are the developers?
middle name
How did
now.
they reference that game?
The exact quote was they were very happy to see Breath of the Wild come out because it meant they were doing the right thing.
Because
Because
all the
they were
weapons are
doing the same
breakable.
thing of you can just do whatever you want whenever you want.
Right. So you can go right to the end tower in the beginning if you want to do that.
Right.
Yeah,
It would just be very difficult.
That's cool because like it was funny. Leo and I were discussing it, and I kind of had this revelation that Crackdown was like the original, which I love, was more open ended than I think I ever gave it credit for. Because you just are basically given a list of people to kill, and you can do it however you want. You know, which is surprisingly open ended, especially for when it came out. So I'm excited to hear that. It sounds like they're going even further with that with 3.
Yeah, definitely. Like, even just the general bosses. Like, I remember in the first Crackdown that I was so stunned that I could take on a boss by, like, swimming behind his, like, villa and climbing up and just stomping down into him. This one, it's like, there's a boss that you have to draw out. And first time I fought him, I died. And then the second time I came in, I ran a car into him. So, like, it can still do all that stuff. And it still feels incredibly good to do it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Does it feel a little cheaper than you're expecting in the production budget?
For a game that's been in development, because you hear like, oh, it's a first-party game that's been in development for 5 years, you think of like God of War or The Last of Us or whatever.
Yeah.
It's not that. It is a very, I would say it feels like a AA game like Crackdown 1 did way back when.
Yeah, I think you're totally right. I think it's a great way of looking at it. What do you think the reaction's going to be when the game comes out? I know after playing for that limited amount of time, it's tough to predict, but you're a smart man. What do you think people are going to say about Microsoft when that game comes out?
I don't think it's going to set the world on fire. I think there are people who definitely have high expectations of that game, and I'm not sure their expectations are going to be met. Just like I said, it's a first-party exclusive that's been in development for 5 years. But they clearly are aiming to make another Crackdown game and to kind of heal the wounds of Crackdown 2 before they do anything else. Like, I was talking to them, actually, and the first pitch for that game, like, before we ever saw it, was a multiplayer-only game. Like, not even just co-op or open world or anything, just PvP multiplayer.
How
and
bizarre.
like eventually they realized this is a terrible idea. No one's gonna want this.
Yeah.
So they made the story and campaign. That's kind of what took 5 years. Is that they kind of kept iterating on it and fixing it and making the game itself better. I think a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, okay, I like Crackdown, but I don't think it's gonna be like Game of the Year, 10 on 10, whatever people are expecting of, a Microsoft exclusive in 2019.
It seems to be a notch above this, but it feels like that same audience that's like what we call half this room right now with Leo and Kyle, for the people that like Agents of Mayhem. You know what I mean?
I can see it. It feels better than Agents of Mayhem.
I bet it does. Yeah, I bet the reception will be similar to Darksiders 3. And that there will be people
Interesting.
that are like, yeah, it sort of feels like a last gen game, but it's solid and there's fun stuff here. That's my hope and my prediction.
Yeah. I would love to see the budget comparison because I bet it's quite imbalanced. But yeah, it's a weird deal. So you play a lot of single player, fought a boss, all that stuff. You got a fun glitch fighting the boss, which is in our new Gameplay Today episode. Multiplayer looked insane.
Yeah, multiplayer is where the cloud engine destructibility stuff is. That's only where it is now. So you have this entire like fake virtual city that is entirely destructible except for the floor. So you can, for example, if somebody's on the top of a tower just sniping you out, you can go to the bottom of the tower and just wreck it. So the entire tower will come collapsing down. And it's a very cool thing to see. I don't know how long that's going to be fun, but for the entire hour I played it, it was pretty fun.
It's insane. They are not subtle about that destruction. All they want to make sure you notice that, hey, everything's falling apart around you at all times here.
How big is that area? Is it like comparable to a city, or is it kind of like a dense little multiplayer map?
It's comparable. I would say maybe like half the size of an island in that game. So not huge, but like you need to be able to track people and like see them from a distance. And like the multiplayer is lock-on based, which is probably for the better because everyone's jumping around and like dashing through things. And you want to be able to keep an eye on them, but it's like the skill in that game comes from staying off people's radar and destroying the stuff they're standing on.
That sounds cool.
And the game's coming out when?
That game is coming out February 15th.
Weird. On PC as well, right?
Yes.
Of course.
2 weeks from today.
So
wild.
You saw some of the campaign. You said you didn't start from the beginning, but you were kind of in the middle. What is Terry Crews's role? Like, is he a NPC that you interact with?
Marketing guy.
Well, a lot of people think that he's playable. Like, they think he's the protagonist of the game, which he is not. Correct?
I know he's playable in multiplayer. I'm not positive about single player. From what I know, so we can't talk about the intro of the game.
Okay.
But there is an intro to the game that does answer story questions.
Okay. Because I guess I know it's marketing. He's like, he's the face of the commercials.
But he's not integrated. Don't expect him to be the star of this show.
It seems like him and the narrator guy, who I can't remember his name, who runs the agency. It seems like, do they like work together to give you missions or something? Or is those are questions you can't answer right now?
So the narrator does give you missions. There's also a woman who gives you missions as well. And she like tells you like she's a straight man of the group, I guess.
Okay.
The Terry Crews, I occasionally hear like over propaganda speakers in the city talking about how the agency's here to help. So I'm not sure what his role at that point in the game is.
He is functioning in game the same way he is functioning outside of the game, where he's like, hey, we got Terry Crews. Like, it's good, you guys. Come on.
You are having a good time. Woo!
Terry Crews is here from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, the yogurt guy.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right.
Is be hyped you hear and see Terry Crews occasionally.
That sounds like an interesting game. Imran, it seemed like you also had a lot of thoughts on the big news hitting last week about Metroid Prime 4. In a very Nintendo-style announcement, just releasing this, 2-3 minute video of just somebody, I think in purgatory, some Nintendo developer explaining like, hey, yeah, it's on us. We're hitting the big reset button. Sorry, everybody.
So there's two big deals there. One, you said Nintendo style, and it's not Nintendo style. To do this, to explain where something is,
I guess so.
Very much not them.
Well, actually, I would argue that because I remember Twilight Princess getting delayed back in the day and getting a recorded phone call explaining why the delay was happening. Like, I don't think it's totally out of character for them to at least offer some surface level baseline. Here's what's going on.
I think where I was going with that was just you would never expect for a game to be delayed, and then the format that they convey that to you in is man in a white room explaining slowly that the game is delayed.
That's
just
true.
Unpredictable, beautiful Nintendo in their way.
Which I imagine they have to do because the second the next Direct rolls around and there's no Metroid Prime 4 footage, people are going to get mad.
It is the smartest, cleanest, most painless way to do a very painful thing of saying, hey, don't expect this realistically anytime soon, because now it's shifting over from Bandai Namco who's developing it, correct?
So they never officially announced that.
Okay.
What I've been hearing, so their original thing was it's being developed by a new team at Nintendo, which is still sort of true, or at least it was true when they were developing it before. It was kind of like, from what people have told me who were actually on the project, that it was an ad hoc development team of like different developers in different countries that were like Bandai Namco Singapore, Bandai Namco Japan, and internal design within Nintendo itself. And like parts of the game were doing really well and other parts weren't. So it just wasn't coming together in a cohesive gel. So it kind of missed some milestones over development.
It's interesting. And the Singapore team, I thought I read somewhere too, just rumors popping up here and there that it was like some former Star Wars 1313 developers from LucasArts?
That is what Bandai Namco Singapore is made up of. I'm not sure how much involvement they had over time.
Yeah.
But they were involved at some point.
It's weird. I mean, Bandai Namco also developed Smash Brothers. Seems like Nintendo has been pretty buddy-buddy with those guys lately. So it's interesting that like, this one time, it just didn't quite come together.
Right. And I think it's a development process Nintendo's just not used to.
Yeah.
Like they outsource stuff to studios in Kyoto and Tokyo and stuff like that. And those are different cities, but different countries was becoming too much of a barrier with time zones and stuff like that. So I think it's just better. The internal thinking has been it's been better to keep it under one roof.
And so now that one roof is in Austin, Texas, ladies and gentlemen, going back home and doing what a lot of people wanted them to do or expected them to do years ago and having Retro develop it, the original games developers. But it's important to note that like a lot of those leads that worked on Metroid Prime 1 through 3 back in the day left and are now at different studios like Armature that made Recore, stuff like that. Mark Pacini, who was on the show
The Batman
years ago.
handheld game, I think, right?
That's right. Everybody
Yeah.
talks about Origins, Blackgate.
Yeah.
So it's a weird deal, and don't see it as like, hey, the original creators of Metroid Prime. Like, that studio has changed a lot throughout the years. It's still retro, and that still means a lot, but
And they're still very good. You know, the Donkey Kong games have been excellent.
Right.
And presumably they're done with that rumored Star Fox game.
well, that's the question.
And probably Nintendo probably has shelved it now because they tend to do that, right? They'll shelve completed games.
Or maybe it was so close to being done that's like, okay, now Metroid Prime 4 is in pre-production and we can shift over to that at this point. Which do you think it is, Imran?
Honestly, I can't say. Like, we'll probably find out before E3. But like, if that game still exists, I'm sure we see it soon.
Yeah.
Because like they've already announced Retro's new project, which means if they've been working on something that got canceled for the last 5 years, then it's weird that they would give them Metroid Prime at all.
Well, it probably took them a long time to add Funky Kong to Tropical Freeze. So
Did
They
Monster
did do that,
that?
yes.
Was that actually them that did that?
I believe that was Retro, right?
Yeah, I believe they're also uncredited on Labo.
Oh, interesting. Okay, what a weird deal.
I'm curious what that version of Metroid that has now disappeared, is that like Resident Evil 1.5?
It's going to become Resident Evil 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, totally. People are going to, some concept art is going to leak 4 years from now, and people are going to be like, that was the real Metroid Prime 4 we wanted. Like, it is off to heaven in video game world where everybody's greatest ideals of what a Metroid Prime game could be is now just going to filter down, and we'll all just speculate about how great it could be.
They should include it as a pre-order bonus for Metroid Prime 4.
Right. Just treat it like the Star Fox 2 out of the gate. I'm willing to guess. I don't think Metroid Prime 4...
or to guess?
I'm willing to guess financially that Metroid Prime 4 will not release on the Switch.
I could definitely see it being a cross-gen title at this point.
Yeah.
I think it'll still come out on Switch.
Think so?
Yeah.
You want to make a bet?
Sure. You want to write it down?
No, we're
$5?
not talking like new Switch model. I'm talking like...
Yeah, new 3DS, like new Switch. That's
Yeah.
still Switch, right? You're talking
Right.
about I think it will still come out in this Nintendo's generation. I think the Switch will stick around longer than the average like Nintendo
That's
console.
what logic would dictate. But this is Nintendo, and you never know when they're going to
That's
zig
true.
or zag.
That's very true.
I'll bet you $20 on that.
$20? All right.
Or how about one song on the Game Informer Show podcast?
I'll do that.
Singing in the mic?
Sure.
Okay. All right.
All right. So wait, real quick. So if it comes out on
Song
Switch,
of my choosing.
wait, well, what do I? So I choose your song if
Yeah.
it comes out on Switch. You
Yes.
choose my song if it comes out next gen.
Correct.
All right. Let's do it.
And shake hands. Great. I can't wait to be on the podcast 5 years from now. And talk
I can't wait to play Metroid Prime 4 on Switch in 2 years and listen to your song.
2 years. You're dreaming.
Okay,
kid.
I know. I'm underestimating.
You're out of your mind. Imran Khan, thank you so much. You're very informed, and we love you. But would you mind clapping out of here?
Sure.
Bye. Elise Favis.
Hey.
Welcome to the big show.
Thanks.
It's time to get thoughtful. Time to let our imagination soar because we've all been playing the Dreams beta.
Yes.
Including Leo in the booth. Don't think you can get away from us, Leo.
Sorry.
All right.
I tried.
So, Elise, you have just been dabbling in other people's creations a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't dabbled much with the creation tool outside of the cover story.
Yeah.
So I played like an hour at that point, but yeah, I'm sure you guys have more to say about the creation at this point.
Yeah, well, I'm also in the same camp. Like, we saw so much on the cover story trip. We spent like 2 days at Media Molecule and got a good rundown of like what those tools are like.
Yeah.
And so I was mainly interested in what the community was making and searching through things like
Same
Dream
here.
Surfing. And then I started doing the tutorials, which the whole first stretch of tutorials, which is like 9 2-minute videos roughly, it's just based on movement. It's like,
Yeah,
hey, this
moving
is
the
how you just
camera.
navigate this space. Here's how you can teleport because you're doing everything in a free-floating camera, and it's more complicated than you think. Because like L1 is the shift equivalent, and then you
Yeah.
can move over here if you do this.
It's funny because like so much of it is like just obvious things. Like it just works like first-person shooter controls, 2
Right.
analog sticks. But then occasionally it'll be like, oh, you can zip to things using these 2 buttons or hold down this button. And it's like, well, I wouldn't have figured that out on my own. So it's like 60% obvious things, but then 40% like really important hidden things.
Crazy things like if you're grabbing an object, this is all to create games, by the way, is the point of Dreams. But you're like grabbing an object, if you hold R2 lightly, then
It moves
it's like
slower.
slow adjustments. If you really slam it down, then it's like huge adjustments for like rotating little things around here and there. But you've done the most creation, Kyle. How far have you gotten with that?
Oh, so not not super far because those. I mean, you guys talked about in the cover story a lot.
Yeah.
So those tools are super dense.
It's insane.
Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Like
yeah.
those tutorials are good. They're basically just YouTube videos that like overlay on screen, and you can fast forward and rewind. Not fast forward, but you can rewind 15 seconds at a time, which is nice. But
Do they all have a little story? Because like the first stretch, it's like
Yeah.
find Connie the cone.
As far as I got, they still had like a little bit of a narrative, which is cute, and it also gives you like some. Like a goal, kind of. It's less about like, all right, we're going to show you how to move platforms, and it's more like, okay, we're going to show you how to move platforms so you can get Connie to the end.
Yeah.
Which is a nice little touch, and it gives you like a little bit more incentive to learn. It did
you
for me.
need to take care of Connie the cone.
Well, it gives it more character, you
Helpless
know?
Connie.
Yeah,
Right.
But I got as far as recording animation using the controller and stuff like that.
Oh,
so you
okay.
can like, you basically put something on screen, you hit the record button, and then you can do what you would normally do, like grab something and rotate it and move it, and it like tracks that stuff. So that's as far as I got, which is still not very far at all. In,
Right.
You know, in the large.
Yeah, I remember doing some animations on the cover story, and I liked how you actually have to grab the thing and like move it around physically in the
or
world.
take control of a character and like just use a control stick as if you were playing normally to record what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool.
Leo, are we bearing the lead a little bit? What was your high-level takeaway or reaction diving through? Because we did an hour and a half long live stream just checking out what other people had made. What do you think of that?
I could have let that live stream go on for 9 hours. It was so much fun just searching random words and playing what came up, and there's such an incredible variety in the gameplay that people are making.
When I installed the beta at my desk and I unlocked a Dream Surfing, Leo just slowly like floated over, and I could just hear him over my shoulders being like, "I'm gonna love this. Oh my god, I cannot wait. This is so good. This is perfect."
It's just infinite game jam games.
Yeah.
And you never know
Yeah.
what to expect. Some are
great.
Some are a lot funnier than I was expecting. There's just weird stuff in there. Like one of the highest rated is that dumb fighting game where it's like, hey,
Oh, the Oi.
what you looking at?
Yeah.
Just this
But I love
dumb-
the soundtrack,
the
of that.
soundtrack is killer.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
The gameplay is really janky and kind of dumb.
Well,
but, like,
naturally.
yeah,
Yeah.
but that soundtrack is real good.
It's awesome. And like, so it's just people who have access to the beta have been creating stuff. I think I was expecting, I'm impressed by what people have made. No doubt. The variety is awesome. I was expecting more content, I guess, from the beta. Like it got to the point where just sticking around at home, it's like, okay, I've done this one. I've done this one. Like I've gone through a surprising amount of these at this point. Maybe I just haven't been searching for super obscure tags, but
Yeah, I've just been
Yeah.
kind of looking at the stuff that floats to the top, which
yeah,
you
the
still find lots of good
showcase.
stuff.
Yeah, I usually play a lot of those, but I don't know. I mean, there's also ones that are very like mediocre that I'll play for like 2 seconds. I'm like, this is too janky, and I'm like, not gonna keep playing.
right, because everybody has a lot of
Yeah.
polishing left to do. But it's just
Yeah.
absolutely insane to jump into these games and just things that are reflexes for you. Like Leo and I were playing some third-person shooter where you're running around this environment. It's like, yeah, all the controls are exactly what you'd expect. And it's just
Full
that-
animations for pulling a gun out of a holster.
Right.
putting
You
it
just
back.
gotta step back and be like, oh yeah, this person rigged this all up
That's pretty
correctly.
cool.
And just like the
Yeah.
small details were killing me while I'm playing through this. Even just dumb stuff. This is stupid, but just there was one of them where it's like, okay, you're in an environment, and then to get the map on the screen, you touch the touchpad on the PS4, and it's like, I know that's the easiest thing to program in all of Dreams with the idea of like, we get to make the map button the touchpad on the PS4. Like that's so exciting.
Did you guys have like a singular, just like weirdest thing that you found? I think for
Oh,
me,
yeah.
the weirdest one I found, and I put it at the end of my video that I put together of like looking at games that other people have made based on games,
Right.
like Zelda and Mario.
The
So I-
copyright legal like
right,
iffy
yeah.
territory.
But
yeah.
at the end, there was just one. You just start the game, and it's just a dude sitting in a chair, and his head just
Oh, I
keeps
saw that at
growing.
the end of your video.
Yeah,
right?
it just keeps growing, and you can let it go for like 10 minutes, and it like eventually the head's just like filling the whole screen. It's like, all right, that's a game, I guess.
Dreams
Thumbs up.
on store shelves now.
Yeah.
Run, don't walk. I think it was delightful, but one of the strangest ones was you're playing as this little pea. Did you do this one? Not the grape. The grape one's also awesome.
Oh, I know. With the
Panis
kid,
Pot.
the 4-year-old kid narrating.
yes,
it?
there's a 4-year-old
I
kid that they
loved that
recorded.
one.
It's like this daughter
But-
telling the story, and then I think they just improv the story, and then he
They
turned
made a
into a
game out of
game.
it.
That's
So you're
so
this
good.
little pea going around the kitchen, and there's this little girl in like an uncomfortably cute voice. It's
Oh,
like,
it's a boy. Yeah.
exactly what I was thinking. A little boy. That's the spirit. Anyway, so it's like a little boy just going like, and then the pea's going to go into the penis pot,
I
and
know,
the pot doesn't want
So
the
it's a
pea.
little British boy.
Yeah, of
well,
course.
So it's like Axe
So the
Cop?
thing is, it's actually by a media molecule designer that made that because I
Oh.
found it on Twitter. too.
Okay.
But it's so cute.
Still impressive.
It's so cute. And yeah, it's really like the kitchen is really well designed.
Yeah.
And it was pretty impressive that it was made in Dreams. And the little kid is so adorable. And then the dad will ask questions like, well, what happened when he went into the pot?
These accents.
ate him and then spit him out. It's bizarre.
It's so cute.
I googled panis pot. That's not a type of pot. I don't know what that is.
I feel like that must be a British thing.
Isn't a panis something else on a human body? I'm very confused about
Maybe
what's
it's
going on
just a 4-year-old just making up words. It happens.
I
sometimes.
assume it's some Britishism that we're just
It's
too
gotta
stupid to
be.
understand. Do you have a favorite thing you've played, Kyle?
You know, okay, maybe not favorite, but the one that I was like most surprised by, A, because it was like actually pretty well done, and B, I was like, I can't believe someone put this much effort into it, was like a Leisure Suit Larry game.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They just like made like a bunch of environments, and like they have buttons that you can press to make Larry like do like different poses and stuff like that. And he walks with these like weird physics that are really funny. Like I'm honestly more impressed by the totally original stuff. But I was just, that one really blew my mind because I was like, I can't believe someone took the time to make Leisure Suit Larry, and then they did an amazing job with it. You know?
I thought it was in poor taste to have that 4-year-old narrate everything that was happening in Leisure Suit Larry.
And then
but-
Leisure Suit Larry tried to talk to the lady.
Oh no. Oh, that'd be bad.
there's a I think the most impressive one that I've seen. I think it's even the highest rated. Yeah, but it's like this driving one. It's called like something
Off-road something.
off something.
Yeah,
but
it's one of the first ones there.
it blew me away just how big it was. And you're moving through all these different environments. And that was definitely one of the things with the cover stories. Is like, it can't really do open worlds. Things are relatively contained, but you can like you can chain things together, a little bit like Wargroove that we just talked about, right? For creating your campaign. So it has a very subtle way of being like, here's a secret kind of gate where they're loading the next area. And it's surprisingly seamless. And you're just driving this car around through some weird, trippy situations, and it ends up and you're like in hell. It is bizarre.
Right.
But
I guess I didn't play that long enough to see those parts.
It's
Because I
crazy.
got kind of frustrated with the like car controls.
the car controls, the
They're
physics
really
suck
bad. I
for that one.
kept crashing. I'm like, I don't
Yeah,
wanna
but
play
it's up to
either.
them to make a better controlling car. It seems like every game with a car was probably the roughest
Yep.
to control. But on that open world thing, another impressive one was somebody made like, it's called Scrolls something, where it's like an RPG.
Oh, yes, that was cool.
Where you have to like poison this guy's trying to kill you in the bar.
And then you have a fight against a dragon.
Oh, I didn't get that far.
Yeah, there's like a dragon that like comes flying in. He's breathing fire and everything, and you have to kill him with your sword.
Oh, that's
And he
awesome.
has a health bar and everything.
But the word that blew my mind is just leaving the tavern and seeing how big the town was. Just like, oh, this is
no.
all
and
one
it's
area.
really pretty.
Yeah.
too. Like the snowy atmosphere. It's really cool.
Yeah, it turns out that
Slayer Scrolls. That one's called.
Slayer Scrolls,
There we
got
go.
it. Yeah, just figuring out like everything's nice and fuzzy in the Dreams engine, like that one, so that snow is going to look really good. But then
Yeah.
there's some games where they push that art style, which is almost the most exciting, just to see how far it can get away from Dreams.
Yes.
Like somebody made Mario 1-1, and like it looks
Yes.
awesome and
They
and
made the
sharp.
soundtrack and everything too.
Yeah, I'm sure Nintendo loves it. And then the other one that was crazy was, I think it was, you couldn't interact with it, but they just recreated basically the opening hallway from Dark Souls 1.
Yes, that
Yeah.
was just like a visual benchmark kind of
Okay,
thing.
but just
video.
the look of that thing, it's like, I'm so glad it doesn't look like Dreams. You would just think this was made in Unreal or something.
Yeah, there was one, oh man, I wish I could remember what it was called. Oh yeah, Project Dead. And it's kind of this, it's very limited that you just have to walk down a hallway and that's it. But like it gives off this like very like Doom vibe, and it looks super realistic, like the brick walls and everything, and the metal canisters that you find, and
Oh,
the dead
cool.
bodies, and it looks really cool.
Yeah.
And Curiosity, I don't know if either of you played that one.
Oh,
I
is that
saw
the
that one.
sci-fi one?
Yeah, of, like
Okay.
you play as a robot, and once again, pretty simple. You just have to like walk to the waypoint, and that's sort of where the demo ends.
Okay.
But it's like a really like beautiful barren landscape, and the like robot design's really cool, and
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like you said, pushes the kind of limits that you think Dreams would have, like that kind of like you said, like fuzzy kind of pattern to everything.
Right,
So-
right. There's a YouTube comment that struck me, I think on one of the videos we did, which is Siddharth Skrikumar just says, "Holy fuck! Why are people not hyped for this? Don't you fucking see the potential this game has?" And I feel like that is speaking for a certain section of the internet of like seeing what Dreams can do, and it is this realization of like, holy fuck,
It
this
can do
could
a
be
lot.
huge.
Yeah.
Do you have predictions, Kyle? Did it change your prognosis?
No, I'm going to be kind of the downer in that, like, everything it still has this, like, one level away from being, like,
good?
Yeah, like a fully legitimate video game to me. It still has this, like, glaze of dreams on it, whether it's like the controls aren't perfect or the visuals look a little too fuzzy. They're all really impressive and fun and cool, but like as like the prediction of like this is going to be like its own game engine.
Yeah,
I don't know that it's going to be that.
I think if you're smart with the game you're designing and making it.
I saw ones that looked pretty, like at least like visually looked very impressive and not dreams-like at all. So, but you're right.
Even like Dark Souls, that one, it looks great, but there's still like a little bit of fuzz. Like I still think I would be able to like say, oh, that was probably made in dreams. You know, had you showed it to me.
Infinite free games, but they are like 1% fuzzy.
Yeah,
so.
but like, if you could have, I mean, you're joking, but like if you can have infinite free decent games or like one amazing game,
right?
Like I would still rather play the amazing game.
Sure, but there's an audience that Leo in particular maybe. It's like the idea of dream surfing around and having all that stuff.
I'm very excited to dream surf and see it from a creative perspective. Like I want to see, thank you, Ali. I just want to see like what people create with it and admire it as art almost more than just like true gameplay experiences.
Like, there was one that I played called Starry Night, and I don't know if either of you played that.
I saw you write about it, yeah.
Well,
so I read what you wrote about it. I didn't watch you write about it.
I hope not.
This is weird.
Thanks for clarifying, Kyle.
Ooh, Starry Night.
So it starts off in this bedroom that's once again like really visually appealing, and there's kind of this like green glowing window. And on the windowsill, there's some absinthe that you can drink. And once you drink that and you look out the window, all the sky starts to blur and it starts to swirl and like the mountains start to form into like kind of different shapes. And then it ends up looking exactly like Van Gogh's Starry Night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very well done.
Yeah. That's wild. Leo, your mind was blown. I love that you were in love with this specific feature where you can like dive into any dream. Maybe they have to open it up for this and look at the version history.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So you can go back and be like, let's play the first version of this that they uploaded and like track the changes along the way.
So you can actually play? Those are all, do you have to like allow that?
You must in some way like let it be known that this is a new version
feels like
now.
A permissions thing.
Yeah, there was a little distinction when we looked at the earliest version of something that said playable. You know, they're probably not all going to be playable, but I do love that feature a lot.
Yeah, because I think Little Big Planet, I think when you like updated a level, it just put the newest. It's like saving the most recent version of the file. But that's cool that you can go back and look and see where it started and everything. That's really cool.
It's so crazy. Like seeing the reaction and seeing people start to wrap their mind a little bit more around like this could be a colossal thing. Like it's a dumb thing we talked about in this stream, but there's an employee at Double Fine who's been there for a long time, and he played Dreams and he just tweeted out, he's like, this is the most powerful tool that we've ever had. Like this is going to be absolutely badass. And seeing like other game designers who know the limitations of engine specifically get excited about this, it's like, okay, I can't wait for all those game designers. Forget the crunch in the industry. Now, when you get to go home, I want you to create side projects within Dreams, please.
Oh my gosh.
Someone, I think, mentioned the concept of using Dreams as a way for developers to kind of like
paper test.
Yeah, like make a smaller version of just like, this is kind of the idea that I have. I want to do this on a larger scale, and that's really cool. And
I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have to keep in mind, like when we're saying, oh, well, it's janky and like, you know, it doesn't feel like a proper video game. I mean, they've only had like a bit over a month.
And it's a small group of people too.
It's a small group
who
of
are
people.
very talented.
And a lot of the time you start these like little demos and they're like, you know, remember that this is, you know, just kind of like a prototype, and when Dreams launches, I want it to be an actual, you know, bigger thing. So I feel like it's hard to judge at this point in time. Like give Dreams a few months for like people to experiment and stuff. Then I'm like really wondering what could
especially
come out.
with VR, where it's going to get completely nuts out there.
Could be totally horrifying.
Oh yeah, it is undoubtedly going to be horrifying. And like I think they said in the cover story trip that the plan is it's going to be like Mario Maker for PSVR specifically, where to post the level you have to play it yourself and finish it, just to make sure that it's not just some whirligig nightmare.
See, after playing Dreams, that concept seems weird to me, because what if how do you beat like that Van Gogh creation? You just watch it. I
Yeah.
guess.
Well, to beat Van Gogh, I think you have to be Van Gogh's own mind, I think is how that works. Yeah.
Interesting.
You have to break his heart or something. I don't remember.
Or
what the
try to
story
move
is.
in with a group of other artists and get really angry.
Is that what he did?
Something like that.
That
yeah.
guy's
We're
really
all
funny.
experts.
Something for the dreams experts at the table.
Yeah.
I'm curious how collaboration works. I'm very interested in me and my friends all getting this and putting together some abomination monstrosity.
Yeah.
Can you
VR.
work on the same project at the same time, or is it more working on
Yes.
different parts and uploading them?
You can, but not yet.
Well, so it's confusing. So there's couch co-op.
Yeah.
You can share the same project. You can't work on it at the same time online right now, is the way they put it. Unless you do Game Informer's favorite trick of doing a share play with them, and then you can simulate the couch co-op if you want to do that for like playing music and stuff together.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
the little, what's the guy? The little
Imp.
So you could
Cursor.
theoretically you could have two imps on screen and both be doing things
Only
and
locally.
and locally.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, but eventually they'll get that going for online. But it's so exciting seeing so many comments of people being like, I want to make this. I want to make this type of game. I've been dreaming of this. I've been dreaming of this. It's so satisfying to think this is what Media Molecule's been trying to do so much successfully with Little Big Planet, and now just seeing it, the world's their oyster, and people's brains are literally just being filled with dreams. Like that is mission accomplished, for Media Molecule.
And you already are seeing collaborations happen, just not like specifically making a dream together at the same time, but like you see like this project's, this music was done by this person and the art was done by this person.
Yep,
So
yep,
we're
yep.
already seeing that.
Super exciting. The beta ends February 4th.
Yeah, pretty soon.
So our dreams will end then as well, but then it'll
Yeah,
come back.
Progression, you save. They said you can save like the file locally, right? Or
Everything
something?
from the beta will go forward and launch, is what they said, at least in the cover story.
Really?
True.
Okay.
Yeah.
That might have changed.
Oh, really?
But you can save what you made. So if you made something and you want to keep it, like you
Okay.
just download the whatever the .dreams file or whatever it's called.
To your PS4?
I'm not totally clear on how that works, but I saw them tweeting about that.
Huh, confusing. To learn more, GameInformer.com/dreams, we have a ton of exclusive features and stuff up there. If you want to learn, or if you want to see the campaign and stuff, which, this is going to be like 2 to 3 hours, it's all up there. Very cool. You guys want to move on to emails?
But I do.
Blip, here we go. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. A bunch of lovely people wrote into podcast@GameInformer.com, the best email address in the world, and they sent in questions, thoughts, words of wisdom, words of concern, dares, bets, everything under the sun.
Recordings?
Recordings.
Does anyone ever send in a recording of themselves asking a question?
Very rarely. I think it's happened, yeah.
Okay.
Podcast@GameInformer.com. Anything that makes the show better. Hey, we crowdsource like half the show every week. This is your chance. Make the show better. I'm here. That was the voice of Kyle.
Sorry.
Suriel's here.
Yep,
Suriel, damn it.
that's me.
And then Ben Reeves.
Hello.
And we're going to choose our absolute favorite email, and then we're going to put a pin in the place where that person's from and honor them on the big board now and forever as email of the week. Okay. First response that was all over the place. Hey, Reeves, that name we're looking for last week?
Yeah.
Alibaba. That's the Chinese Google Amazon.
Yep, totally.
Yep, thank
I
you.
knew it.
You guys
Thank
are
you,
close.
thousands of people, for bugging us with that. You got it. We got it, and we'll never forget it. Okay, Joseph D. from Kansas City, Missouri says, hello, Game Informer. On the Kingdom Hearts Stream Drop Distance replay, Reiner asked how long it would take to catch up on the entire series in order to play Kingdom Hearts 3. Well, on November 16th, 2018, I decided I would go through the HD collections on PS4 in order to refresh my memory. All totaled, it came to about 200 hours.
Damn.
If you also decide to watch all the cutscenes from the mobile game, I did, then that's another hour and a half or so, maybe 2. I would not recommend anyone marathon a game series like this. Thanks, and see you on the other side of Kingdom Hearts 3.
But how long to watch all the movies associated with?
That's where it gets
Yeah,
astronomical.
that's got to be insane.
Are you guys digging Kingdom Hearts 3 so far?
I haven't played it.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm not understanding what's going on. I wrote like a little piece for that site where I'm very confused, but I still like the game because the combat's super fun and
It is super fun.
yeah, the combat's great.
Really? Okay, I haven't heard that yet.
I told you that
like
last
it.
week.
Oh, it's great. Like,
Yes.
it's not like Devil May Cry. It's
Well,
Well,
no, okay.
what do you want?
it's
all right.
You're mashing a button.
Yeah, and
things
amazing
happen.
stuff is happening.
Yeah,
That's great.
it looks very cool.
You said that the intro to the Toy Story section is amazing.
Yes, which none of you have seen yet, I don't
No.
think.
Please
right?
don't spoil anything.
I think that the intro, I wrote it down, I'm taking a cue from you, Hanson, trying to keep track of things for our top 10 moments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wrote that down as a potential top 10 moment of the year. Is the beginning of the Toy Story level.
And this
Interesting.
is the first game with them in Toy Story, right?
yes, any Pixar characters.
Which blows my mind because I feel like it had to have been in another game before because I feel like I've been hearing about Toy Story and Kingdom Hearts for like 5 years.
You have been.
Yeah, which are like, but this is the first game.
Yeah.
So
That's bizarre. Pete from Salem, Virginia says, "Hey, crew, I was watching the live Kingdom Hearts stream the other day that we did, and while I was listening to Kim list off some of the past entries in that series, a weird thought popped into my head. Will a lot of these popular series ever end? In 20 years, will they still be making Assassin's Creed, Pokemon, or Mario games? What about 50 to 100 years down the road?
then they'll be open to everybody to make one.
What year will the last Assassin's Creed game be released?
2018. Bold prediction.
Plucking a number out of thin air. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with 2033, because it's gonna diminish. Then there'll be a small reboot.
Right.
That'll be called just Assassin's Creed.
Right.
Yeah.
And then 2033.
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean that series has the most potential to just go on forever, just because it's
Over
all,
Mario or Pokemon?
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's all based in history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so they can just jump around eras in history to make different games. Where Mario takes place in the same time period consistently.
Yeah, but people aren't gonna get sick of Mario.
No, they won't.
I think Mario will still have games in 100 years, honestly.
100 years.
I think so. Because it's
still
that
around.
popular.
What do you think that game will look like?
Life. Real life.
Augmented
limited.
reality.
Oh, it's
I don't know.
Earthbound
It'll probably be
4.
a throwback to the 8-bit thing or something.
That whole 8-bit thing that happened. I don't know.
It'll be VR, augmented reality.
Right. That's
But
probably true.
here's a similar question.
Yeah.
Is what game series, what's the most popular game series that's already happened that will never get another release?
That's a great question.
Dead Space.
Never ever. Like, we can see, we're falling into a black hole and we look behind us and we can see the entire universe's lifespan
Right.
just fly by.
Like, oh, they never made another Dead Space. Or
It would,
something
it would be like
that.
an NES trilogy. of some
Mappy.
kind.
I don't know.
I mean, Dead Space is pretty good.
Yeah, honestly, I could see them making another one though.
Yeah. So
But yeah.
dreams. What about those putt-putt point-and-click games?
No,
Related
this
to
is
car?
real, dude. This is real.
Not one of your fake games that you made
yeah.
up.
Well, actually, I said that kind of half jokingly, but I think that when they re-released these on Steam in the last couple of years, I think they were actually like really popular. So I wouldn't be surprised if someone was like, "I'm going to make a new putt-putt point-and-click adventure game for children."
So it's either Putt-Putt or Half-Life for you.
It's one of the two.
Yeah.
Oh, Half-Life is your answer? Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll see more Half-Life.
I don't know.
Really? You think?
Yeah, I think so. There's that rumored VR game.
Yeah, that's true. At least there's some loose rumor out there.
What do you think happens first? The end of Assassin's Creed or another Half-Life game?
The another Half-Life
Another
happens
Half-Life.
first.
Yeah. Reese, what's your answer?
I'm happy. I said. I don't know if I have a better answer. I think Dead Space is pretty good.
Yeah, Dead Space is really good.
Mass Effect?
Kid Chameleon.
I think
I
I've
bet
seen
they'll
that.
make another Mass
Yeah,
Effect.
they'll make
I
another
bet
Mass
they'll make
Effect.
another one.
It is.
Really?
It's so rare that we see like this is the last entry of this series. We're done. We're no more. Like
Arkham.
Yeah.
Super Smash Brothers Ultimate. He
Yeah,
said it's the last
yeah.
one.
Yeah, well,
That's
actually,
true.
they said it wasn't, but it's the ultimate one. This question made me think of just a real bummer of a tweet I saw once, which just said, "You will not live to see the last Star Wars movie ever made.
Yeah.
You're going to die before every Star Wars movie is released." And that's a very... I know mortality is scary, but certain things put it in perspective more than others. And it's like, I would like to see every Star Wars movie. What do you mean you're going to deprime me of that?
Well, if they
What
keep
the-
performing like Solo.
Wow. I wish I was dead when I was watching that film.
Solo is fine. Me and Surreal saw it together.
Yeah, I like
No, I
it.
like the movie
I
a lot,
like that
actually.
voice though. You should host the podcast with that voice.
Oh, Anthony Scales from Dallas, Texas writes in and says, "Are there any small details in games you find yourself looking out for? Anytime I see a staircase in a new game, I look to see if the character takes every step or if they just glide up the stairs. It's weird, but I really want to see the character take every step."
Oh.
I do too. And especially if you roll up the stairs, I want to see that person just collapse
Eat it.
on it like Metal Gear Solid
Yeah.
2, which is very fun.
This is similar and it happens more frequently now, but like with ladders, I want to see them like grabbing each rung and like do their feet hit the rung.
Yeah.
Especially in older games, PS1, PS2, they would not. It would just be an animation up a wall.
Yeah.
I always, the first thing I do in a first-person shooter is look down to see if I have feet.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
You like feet?
Oh, yeah.
It changes. How would you separate? Because there is, I think, a distinction between first-person shooters where you see the feet versus not? Is it just more of a story emphasis, character emphasis than the feet show?
Yeah, and a focus on physicality. Like, usually if you can look down, I think there's it's a good indication that you'll be able to slide.
Yeah.
If you can see your feet.
They should, for one game, just have it so a little fun joke where if you just look straight down, you can only see genitals.
Just 2 balls hanging?
All right, Reeves. This is a family-friendly show.
I don't like it.
The one that's always inconsistent, but mirrors in games. I'm always so delighted when they put the effort in. Yeah.
I always like things that are destructible in the environment that, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be destructible. Like, one of the reasons I remember really liking Arkham Asylum right out of the gate because, like, you could throw your batarangs at TVs and they would break. And it's just like, oh, the fact that they went through the effort to make sure that those reacted to me when I hit them,
Yes.
like, that speaks to a lot of the detail that's going to be in the rest of the game.
Shooting bottles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Another one that I tend to do more, like that I tend to check is how long do bullet holes stay in walls after you shoot them, or how many it takes for them to start like deleting the old ones. and
Right.
replace them with new
Footsteps
ones.
in the snow is another one,
that's a
right?
good one,
Like,
yeah.
let's see how long this is actually going to last.
Hey, Leo in the booth here. I don't just chime in for no reason usually, but Ghost Freak on Wildlands, the crossbow. When you shoot a crossbow bolt into the wall, it just makes a bullet impact, and there's no bolt there. So
Oh,
that's how
weird.
you know that game's terrible.
Why did people buy that?
It's unbelievable.
Oh, that should be a demand, like a legally required back of the box bullet point.
Yeah.
Just so you know, buyer beware.
FCC, get on this.
Yeah. And get off us for
That's right.
criticizing everything that Reeves says on this podcast. Carl Ruben Wesseth from Oslo, Norway says, oh, they wrote in saying that, like, you remember a while ago, we're like, hey, what do we do with cover story videos? You tell us, community. And Carl here wrote in saying, like, oh, he really liked, we did a video for the Sekiro cover story, which was just focusing on the composer. And he's like, that's what you should do. You should just focus on like one specific role in the studio and make it a little bit more documentary style of like just that person's job. Which Leo and I were just talking about something pretty similar. So it's
That's cool.
It's a good train of thought. But
Anybody else write in about that?
yeah, but that was weeks and weeks ago. We already talked about
Okay.
it. Yeah. Carl says, hey, from the Sekiro videos you've posted so far, it looks like you worked with translators pretty extensively. I wonder if you could talk a bit about how the experience was. Does Game Informer have any Japanese speakers on staff or any other multilingual folks whose expertise you've been able to benefit from in an interview or cover story situations? Multilingual, yes. Suriel here speaks Spanish fluently.
I don't think we've ever had to
Yeah.
use that for.
No.
I've done one interview in Spanish, but other than that,
Ooh, what was it for?
it was for when I went to Evo. One of the players there almost spoke Spanish.
Oh, that's
that's cool.
interesting. Cork went to Spain for Mercury Steam when he wrote that story on their game.
But I wasn't there, so
Right. But we thought about you a lot. Elise with French, it comes up every once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's even told stories about like interviewers becoming more comfortable when they realize that she speaks French. and
Oh,
stuff like
yeah.
that.
Yeah, that's great.
slouching on their chairs.
Yeah. So Kato and Jeff Marchiafava each speak a little bit of Japanese. So if I'm like editing something, like a Japanese interview, and I have some question about like, what does he say here? What is the thing? They can usually give a rough framework of like, oh, they're talking about this type of thing
Yeah.
in this situation here. Working with translators is very interesting. That seems like such a hard job. I like when they're more open about how strenuous it is, because we can go all day asking questions when we're visiting a Japanese studio, all day asking questions and not even think about the mental horsepower it takes to translate stuff. But
Yeah.
Reeves, remember like on the Mega Man 11 cover story trip in particular, it's like, hey, like I've been translating stuff for about 12 hours straight here. Like my brain is going to explode.
yeah.
You need to stop.
Well, we were forcing him to translate for us. We were like, "Can you translate this into French too?" No, but that was a case where it's like we were going out to dinner and he's their translator. It's like I don't want to make him like translate this conversation, but I also want to talk to the developers.
Right,
It's this
right.
weird position. You're like, I feel bad for him.
It was also like the opposite on the Sekiro's cover story, because that guy seems like, yeah, that's totally fine. I can do it all day.
Yeah, he was like the Captain America
He kept
of
apologizing.
translators.
I think it was because of like the Mega Man thing of like we didn't want to stress him out too much, but he's
Right.
like, yeah, it's totally fine.
Yeah, but it's always bizarre because you never know what's getting lost in translation.
Yeah.
Both ways, because you can sometimes they'll answer your question. It's like that's not
That's not the
an
question.
answer that works at all. Like
And it's
something
super
was
short.
lost. Yeah.
Sometimes you're like, I'm pretty sure you talked more than that.
Something's weird.
Some translators will adopt like they'll speak their answers in first person, while other
Yes.
people will use third person. So that can that's sort of I'm not sure like if there's an onus or a reason for that, if they're like paraphrasing versus like directly quoting.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that some translators do both.
I used to think it was like super easy. I'm like, all you're doing is talking. But then I don't know if you've ever like even just like listen to a podcast or something and pause it every like 20 seconds and then try to repeat back everything you just heard. Like that's hard to like hold all that in your mind.
And that's the easiest route.
Yeah,
like, you
and
have to
that's
do
just
mental gymnastics.
It'd be difficult to translate English into English. Like if you're trying to tell someone what someone else is saying as they're saying it, like that would be super difficult.
But it's especially tough with video interviews because a translator will like sit next to me or something, right? Or wherever they are in the room, the Japanese developer will obviously look at them as they're giving their answer. And so just for like eye lines for videos, it gets to be a real mess. So the dumb way, the only way to get around that I found is I literally just put 2 chairs like we're making a little single file bus, and I put the translator directly behind me so that the person being interviewed will just like look directly through my skull to try and talk to the translator.
Did you ever get this feedback? It was like, hey, don't look at me, look at the person you're talking to, not the translator. It's really hard to do, but they say it's like a sign of respect to like look at the person you're actually talking to.
When the person is speaking in Japanese, I will look at them, and then when the translator is giving me the translation, I usually look at the floor there and just listen. Because I see it as more respectful for the Japanese speaker as they're speaking to pay attention to them.
Right.
And it is that dumb reflex of like, oh, I smile and they smile. It seems like they made a joke. I don't know what it was, but I'll laugh here. You know what I mean? But it's tough to know where to look.
One interview I did at Comic-Con for, I think, Resident Evil 6, and the guy I was talking to was just staring into my soul. He just would not look away. It's like he got coached or something. It's like, you need to look at this person the whole time, whether he's talking or I'm talking. Oh, no. And it was uncomfortable. Like, it was like, thank you.
Thank you. I felt really respected.
For this eye contact.
Arigato. Okay. Mark Lark here from Surprise, Arizona, former friend of the show. Forever friend of the show.
What happened?
No, they won email of the week last year. Anyways, for the last 3 years, Capcom has made January the month to release their marquee titles. Resident Evil 7 in 2017, Monster Hunter World 2018, Resident Evil 2 in 2019. This release window has proved to be profitable for the company. Will they be able to keep this up? Will other games stay away from January knowing that this is Capcom's month? Also, what other companies could do something like take a generally slow release month and turn it into a premium time to release games? I don't know if there's like a marquee summer game studio release. Maybe like Lego, whenever the blockbuster season is, might be like the closest.
It's funny because I don't really connect. I've never connected. They have the evidence to support it, but I've never connected Capcom to January.
Oh, really? It's definitely been a thing. Yeah,
for
like,
sure.
Even as far back as like releasing, not necessarily January, but in the first quarter of the year.
Yeah,
Capcom.
right.
Like I remember
That's
Street Fighter 5 or Street Fighter 4 and Resident Evil 5 came out like within like a month of each other.
Okay.
Right.
Even the original Resident Evil 2 released in like the first part of the 1998.
Oh, interesting.
Which is crazy. So even back then they were doing it.
It works really well, though. I feel like people are so eager for games in January specifically, especially by the end of January. It's like, let's go. Give me some Monster Hunter World. Give me some Resident Evil 2.
Yeah, I wish it would get spread a little more across the year outside of November, you know.
Oh, yeah,
That'd
for
be nice.
sure. Taylor from Vermontville, Michigan says, that's a weird name, says, I've been playing the Resident Evil 2 remake, and it's fantastic. After Resident Evil 7, the great success of Monster Hunter World, and the promising Devil May Cry, I wonder, is this a Capcom renaissance? It feels like they moved past the identity crisis of last generation in the Resident Evil 6 days and found their groove for critical, commercial, and fan reception in a way Square Enix is still often struggling with and Konami gave up on. What do you think?
I like that Konami gave up on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, yeah, probably.
Yeah, I feel like from the fighting game perspective, they've kind of sort of been. It's been a little rocky. Like
Yeah,
Street
but nobody
Fighter 5
plays
didn't-
those games.
Yeah, like Street Fighter 5 came out and it was very rocky, and then we haven't heard anything from Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite since it came out.
I mean, that's the thing is because that game was just radio silence, it just falls off the radar so quickly. So everybody just sees it as like, wow, Capcom releasing all these hits one after the other. It's like, well, there's some turds, but just because they get flushed immediately doesn't mean that the turd don't exist.
But even like with Street Fighter, I feel like they're in a good place with it now, where they have the characters and content and stuff, and I think people are overall more happy with Street Fighter 5 than they were at the beginning. But
yeah,
Marvel vs. Infinite just disappeared.
Their hit ratio's got to be better though, right?
Yeah.
Like
I think like even started like from Monster Hunter World on, it just seems like they've gotten some pretty serious momentum.
And plus the idea that they put that much production bucks into Resident Evil 2, that game looks so much better than even I was expecting when I started playing it. It's like, Jesus Christ, other than the mirrors not giving you a reflection. Everything else just looks absolutely amazing.
Especially considering like the origins of that title of like them just coming out. Yeah, people said they wanted it, so I guess we're making it.
We do
Like,
it.
The amount of like research, like I'm surprised at how much they spent on that versus just like, yeah, we'll make a thing to satisfy the fans or whatever. If this does well, maybe we'll make another one.
Does that mirror downstairs not show your reflection?
I don't think so.
In our office?
There might be other ones. There's one in the bathroom at least. I don't think it shows it.
Are you playing as the vampire character?
Yeah, why?
Okay.
The ghost stories. But it's a nice reminder. Hey, Capcom, good job.
Hey, good job.
You guys did it.
Now give us more games.
Yeah,
we want
Joe,
more.
you coward.
Come
You're not cool
on.
enough to give it to us.
Remake Resident Evil 3. Get off your lazy asses.
Give us another beautiful Joe.
Rich Lynch says, hey, Rich Lynch from Los Angeles, California says, hey, I'm really loving what I've played of the Resident Evil 2 remake so far, but there's one major thing I can't help but be disappointed by. At no point does a gravelly voice say the words Resident Evil 2. And I was really looking forward to it.
Did Resident Evil 7 have that?
That's a great question.
I don't remember.
I don't think it did.
I don't think so either. It's a weird thing that they would move away from that because I think
Revelations.
really like that, right?
I love it. Revelations 1 and 2, did they do it?
Oh, God. I just played 2. I don't even remember. But their whole impetus for this remake, and they've even said in like interviews and stuff, is like, we want it to be more realistic, you know? And I think having someone announce the video game that you're playing when you press start.
You need to be realistic in a MFing menu. Like, you can have some fun
Nothing
there.
more realistic
I
than
think
zombies.
it just sets a tone, right? Like when you the very beginning of the game, if a gravelly voice goes Resident Evil,
It just makes
you're
it
like,
feel
all right, well, I'm in
campier.
for something campy, you know.
I guess. I don't know. I thought it was ominous.
I don't even say I'm not saying it's
Who
like
said that?
I'm not saying it's the right choice to have removed it. I'm saying I'm just trying to imagine why they would have made that choice.
You're right. Capcom's blowing it.
Yeah, what are they doing?
The RE engine can't render that.
Just
soundbite.
make it DLC.
Rich said that is funny.
I
Actually,
could charge for that.
I do love that they have the
classic soundtrack DLC?
classic
That's cool.
soundtrack and classic menu noise. This is where I get so nitpicky. Is I want the menu noise without the soundtrack because the soundtrack is like overwhelming and often good music, but like it's a little jarring to hear. Whereas I want that menu noise. It's not as jarring for me, you know. But you can't mix and match it. It's a one-stop shop for that.
Do you like Resident Evil 2, Hanson? Because you don't really like scary games, and you don't like.
He's
It
scared
is-
just
And
thinking
it's
about
kind of
it.
a hard game, which I know you're not a huge fan of, right?
Yeah, I was playing it and realized, well, I hate being scared and I hate puzzles. Why am I playing this? I think the production is really blowing me away.
Yeah.
But I got to a point where it's like I was going to play it all weekend, ended up playing like an hour.
Yeah.
And so it's like, there's a reason I'm not going back to this. Just because I'm in that tense situation. It's like, what? Why am I? Look, this is the worst day of Leon and Claire's life. Why am I volunteering to feel the things they're feeling? What is the upside of this whole thing?
Well, you get to the end, you feel so rewarded for having survived.
I feel pretty rewarded for having survived by not playing it.
Having
But
chosen
here's
to
the catch.
not
Here's the catch. Is
continue.
I'm going to play it with a friend. That's like the
Okay.
good middle ground. You know, we'll just pass the controller.
Yeah, it's funny you make a good point. Because I don't like horror movies for that reason. Like I can't suspend my disbelief. I don't like the feeling of watching horror movies. But I like horror games and I like Resident Evil. I don't know what the difference is.
That's
It's
bizarre.
strange.
Andrew Palomo says, "Hey Ben and crew, I just finished my second playthrough for Resident Evil 2, and I have a few thoughts. Reeves, expert, curious to get your take on this."
Do all emails to Capcom's department for Resident Evil 2, do they just forward
They
to
just
this
get
address
forwarded.
now?
Yeah, there are a lot of weird tech issues. People complaining about it crashing on Steam. I don't know. No, during the opening credits for Resident Evil 2, they show at least one skyscraper and subway. It makes Raccoon City look huge. I have always thought of it as a small town.
Yeah. I think I was talking to somebody on staff about this. Maybe Kyle, was that you?
Nope.
I was definitely talking to somebody about this. I swear.
I
swear I'm
wasn't
not
talking to
crazy, guys.
myself in front of the mirror where they couldn't see me.
Yeah, I always got the same impression that like Raccoon City was like a small town in the middle of Colorado, kind of
Yeah.
in the mountains somewhere.
Where you were born, right?
That's right.
I almost feel
The
like
hills.
like Leon straight up says that in the intro to 4, doesn't he?
I'm from a small town in Colorado.
Or what?
Are you thinking of Where'd Everybody Go Bingo?
No,
Oh.
I'm thinking of Your Right Hand Comes Off. No, it was like in that intro where he was talking about how Umbrella fell apart or whatever. It's like, oh, this thing that attacked a small town of Raccoon City. Like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember him referring it to it
In
that
the
way.
Arklay Mountains.
Not a booming mega city like
Yeah,
these
Yeah.
the
shacks
shining
surrounding the
metropolis
church.
of Raccoon City.
Also, just the structure of the story of like the police chief being integrated into the community in a big way makes it feel like a
Yeah.
smaller
Right.
city. You know?
Yeah, it looks as big as like Denver or something. You know,
Yeah.
like Denver's like the biggest city in Colorado, which kind of surprised me. I was like, I didn't know. I kind of like the small town feel personally,
Right.
especially if they remake 3. It's like that was kind of cool because you saw the whole city. Mm-hmm. And now I don't know what they're gonna do.
Are you excited
blowing
for
it.
the 3 remake?
3 is definitely one of my least favorite.
Yeah.
Whereas 2 was one of my favorites, so I'm not as excited. I would definitely play it and be excited in the sense that I want to see how they change it.
Yeah, I feel like even if it's not like the best game in the series, I feel like they could rework enough of what people didn't like and then still be able to tell that story, unless the story is the reason people hate it.
Plus, it seems like Mr. X specifically is the highlight for a lot of people with Resident Evil 2, and the idea of like just blowing that out. And I feel like Nemesis was awesome in Resident Evil 3, but it was one of those things like, all right, now's the point where he jumps out. But if it's more of a dynamic Nemesis chasing you around, like you could do a lot of really cool stuff tech-wise, just rebooting how Nemesis works.
Like the Nemesis system, yeah.
I would love to see, because 3 was very linear. There wasn't as much like backtracking. It felt like you were progressing going forward the whole time.
Maybe that's why I liked it, yeah.
Oh, you did like it?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, interesting. So I guess what I do like is like when you're stuck in one place and you're slowly opening up new areas of that spot. And so I'd like to see more of that in 3, but we'll see what they do.
I'm sure they would, yeah. Annette Birkin, this is also Andrew saying, hey, Annette Birkin was a much more sympathetic character in the remake. Without spoilers, but were you shocked by kind of a different portrayal of Annette Birkin?
I don't think I was shocked, but I liked what they did. I was like, oh, it's cool that they're fleshing out these characters, and even, I don't know, Sherry a little bit too. I think they had. There was a few other characters that I don't want to spoil, but I did think that they devoted more time to it.
Yeah.
Which was good.
Which is good. Good job, Capcom.
Good job, dude.
Except for the Resident Evil start button thing.
Yeah, fix it.
Yeah, you're blowing it.
Justin from Chicago says, hey, crew, I've been super excited waiting for the Resident Evil 2 remake, as well as Mortal Kombat 11. I've enjoyed most of the games, both the series. However, with the 2 upcoming releases, I've noticed I can't really handle the gore that both of them are putting out there. I played through Resident Evil 2 until a character was split in half. The sight of the entrails and such was too much for me. The same goes for Mortal Kombat 11. I watched the recent gameplay videos and couldn't stomach some of the intense fatalities. It seemed more fun and silly when it was just red pixels shooting out. Do you think we'll ever see the Call of Duty style option where you can select the more violent things to be toned down? Have you ever experienced something similar?
Did you see the one where Scorpion pierces you and then he jumps over you and then he teleports behind you and then he splits you in half?
Yeah, that's the cool one.
That's super cool. Yeah.
I would love to see more of these options. Basically what they do in the beginning of Brutal Legend, right? Where it's like, do you want gore or not?
And profanity, too. They
Right,
ask you, which
right.
is so funny.
This isn't the same thing, but like with the Call of Duty games, where they would say, hey, do you want the mature content?
That's what he
So-
references, yeah.
Yeah, but I referenced it in a better way.
Yeah, I really appreciated that with Call of Duty. I like being able to turn that off.
I think there's an option in like some of the like GameCube era Mortal Kombat games where you could turn off the gore, but it just turned into like little sweat droplets instead of blood.
It's a very
that
sweaty
was,
day.
That was a Mortal Kombat Super Nintendo versus Genesis.
Oh, yeah, and you had to like
Yeah.
enter the code to get blood.
Yeah.
And I think Resident Evil 2 on N64, I think defaulted to green blood for the zombies, but you could manually change it to
Oh,
red.
is that right?
I could be wrong
And
about
Kyle,
that.
you remember who developed that port for the N64 version of Resident Evil 2?
Rockstar?
Well, it was Angel, which then eventually became the Red Dead Redemption studio.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
that's cool.
insane.
Yeah. Insane.
They have, so Resident Evil 2, they have those like old school skins that look
Yeah.
all pixely. I'm like, that would be a cool solution if you could just replace everything with like old school skins.
Pixelated blood.
Yeah, well, then they get torn apart and you're like, whatever, they're just triangles.
Right. It's not a
That
real
famous
person.
line
Yeah,
from Resident Evil 2.
exactly.
I remember when Leon said that.
You could get the Japanese version of Resident Evil 2, which tones down a lot of the violence and stuff. Like it
really?
doesn't show that person's entrails and stuff.
Huh.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm with you. I hate gore. I don't understand the video game industry when like people cheer when a fatality is happening on the screen at E3 and stuff. So I just,
Mortal
I-
Kombat's gotten too realistic. It has crossed the line for me now too. I think honestly,
I know we're uptight prudes, but it's just like
Yeah.
I don't
I don't
think
know,
it's
it's
like
just too much.
offensive. I just think it's
No.
effing lame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels immature a little bit. Like there was a period in like high school where it's like, yeah, this is cool, it's so badass, and now it's just like, why? You don't need that to have fun. Like the Infamous games, not the Infamous. The what's the game that NetherRealm did right before this?
The Injustice.
Injustice games. Like those are bombastic and ridiculous action.
Yeah.
And like people are getting torn apart, but it's like cartoony in a way that the Mortal Kombat games aren't.
I wouldn't necessarily feel like betrayed if they got away from that in future entries of Mortal Kombat, but I don't know. I still think like some of the more clever ones I think are cool, but like a lot of the we're gonna linger on this shot of this person getting pierced in the skull. I think like some of that stuff is like, come on.
It's
Yeah.
glorifying it in a way that is unnecessary. Right?
Poor form. Yeah. Brendan from New Jersey City, New Jersey says, hello, crew. Not your favorite, which I think we've answered before, but what is the most iconic multiplayer map of all time? Both for you personally and also what you think is objectively the most iconic or memorable. Huge fan of the show. So it's like you have to go Dust, I guess, Counter-Strike, or the one we were talking about this morning, Kyle, Facing Worlds and Unreal Tournament, where it's like the floating platforms in space.
The Dota map.
Not Facility.
Honestly, the Dota map, or even Facility from GoldenEye, obviously.
I mean, for personal, for me, it's Facility and Hang 'em High from Halo 1.
Yeah.
And then Blood Gulch, I think.
I think Blood Gulch.
I was going to say Blood Gulch.
For just
Blood Gulch,
iconic,
for sure.
like it's not my favorite. Hang 'em High probably is my favorite,
Yeah.
but like there's something about a good, simple, symmetrical map, and Blood Gulch is just like, mwah.
Big enough to have vehicles, but still small enough where you can, run to each other. Yeah, I mean, that was the one we played the most, so. And I can instantly recognize it in a screenshot,
Yeah. I wonder how much of that was just like, was it Red versus Blue? It all took place on Blood
I
Gulch?
didn't watch it.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know.
I think it was popular before that, though.
Yeah.
I think that's why they chose that map, probably.
Right. By the way, just for a podcast, a bit of feedback here. Talking about Facility, when we did that interview with Sumo Digital a while ago on the podcast, and Carl over there was like showing that he had the rough sketches and all that stuff for the layout for all of the GoldenEye maps and like layouts and stuff like that. They ended up shipping over a framed version of the layout of Facility signed by Carl. And so we're going to be auctioning that off for Extra Life this year.
That's awesome.
So it's
And
super
you
cool.
now own the rights to Facility, too, right?
Yeah.
It's copyrighted.
Oh, is that what it said on the
Yeah, I think
back? I
that's
didn't
what
really
it
read
was.
the
It was
fine
a
print. Oh
trademark,
my
yeah.
god, that's incredible.
We should, while we're auctioning that off, we should load up Perfect Dark Zero.
Yes,
During
I
the
still
live
want to
stream
see that.
and play the remade version of that.
Yes,
map.
I'm very interested in that. Can I bring that game home? Do I have to unlock that? Can I just like pop it in and jump right to that, or have to play some garbage?
It was DLC. It was free DLC at the time.
Okay, so who knows?
I don't
so
know.
who knows if you can even download it now?
Take home Rare Replay. See if it shows up
Oh
in
yeah,
there.
okay. Don Heikert from St. Louis Park, Minnesota, says, "Hey crew, I'm curious if you have many sci-fi fans on staff, and if any of you are excited for the new Dune movie being directed by Denis Villeneuve. I saw the 1984 movie in the theater as a kid and was blown away by it, even though I didn't fully understand it. I read all the books afterwards and absolutely love the Dune universe created by Frank Herbert. Looks like Villeneuve is building a great cast, so I have high hopes this new movie is going to be epic. I'd love to see another Dune video game. Yeah, that would be fun. It's been a while.
I'm fascinated by how that name is spelled, considering from how you pronounce it. I have no idea what the letters you're saying are.
You know, he's the director of Arrival and all that
Okay,
stuff.
all right.
And
You
Blade,
know.
Blade Runner.
Yeah, the new Blade Runner.
I'm super excited for
I
that.
like him as a director, and I'm interested. Like, I read the first Dune book, and I don't remember anything that happens in it.
Yeah, I watched the Dune miniseries. It was like on Sci-Fi, like early 2000s or something, and I think I fell asleep a couple times. So I'm not a big Dune fan, but I'm interested.
I like the idea of Villeneuve. Just taking on because he's dabbled in sort of weirdly I guess smaller scales sci-fi. Like Arrival was smaller. Blade Runner was a step up. It's still on Earth.
Yeah.
I like the idea of him going to like a whole different space area in space. I'm really excited about it. I like him a lot.
Honestly, you telling me that it's the same director as Arrival, I think, is the thing that's most exciting.
Yeah.
For me.
Oh, yeah.
Even though I've never watched like anything Dune related, even though I'm a David Lynch fan, I probably should go back and watch.
No.
The first
I watched it like 3 or 4 years ago. It's
Okay.
rough.
Okay.
Weird one. Jake from Springfield, Vermont says, "Hello, Ben Handsome and friends. Oh, listening to the podcast and heard your question, and am here to answer." Oh, Chinese Amazon is Alibaba. Yeah, got it. Wait, what? By the way, if you could have or own one piece of technology from a video game, what would it be? For me, it'd probably be the shoes that Chell wears in Portal that makes her invulnerable to falling damage. Then I could go skydiving without a parachute and be like, "Pff, I'm good." I like that he chooses the shoes over the portal gun.
The most famous invention from Portal, the shoes.
But I guess if you have the portal gun without the shoes, you would break your neck within seconds.
no, because you
wouldn't.
all you need to do.
yeah.
You would eventually do something.
Oh,
wrong.
It depends on
yeah.
the range, but you could like set up you could paint a wall white or something, and then shoot a portal here, and
Yeah.
then shoot a portal at home, and then you just travel from
Yeah,
work.
just paint it with moon dust. Good luck, dude.
Hello.
Go eBay that.
If
Speaking
you
of which,
buy the portal gun, it comes with a packet of moon dust. Everyone knows this.
pre-order bonus.
okay.
But seriously, though, my
Hang on,
answer
stop.
is portal gun for sure.
Portal gun. If you shot, no spoilers here for Portal 2, but in real life, if you shot a portal on the moon and then shot one just into a wall in a building,
If only there was some way to know what would happen.
no, would the Earth be fine?
Yeah.
It would just be like a lot of air getting sucked out.
There'd just be a
into
really
space.
strong draft. Yeah.
Well, it
Yeah,
would
I
get
don't-
sucked out into the moon, and so the moon would have a small atmosphere.
I don't think it
right?
would stay on the moon. That's the point.
I don't
Well,
think
yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is like it would.
But it's not like the
I'm
Earth would run out
saying-
of oxygen.
I'm
I
very glad
think-
we have a definitive answer we can arrive to.
I think Earth would be screwed. Is what I'm
but how
saying.
long would it take?
I think all the air would get
I
sucked
think
out
it'd
of
be
Earth.
fine.
I don't know, 5 minutes. It'd probably take a long time.
What do you think, like
I think it would be
thousands of
fine.
years before it's like total recall?
Somebody do the math, please.
Yeah,
I'm sure
there's any
someone would
scientist
do
listening.
something about it before the entire world.
Put like
ran
a
out of-
bookshelf in front of
Just
it.
put a plug in it, like the end of Lost.
Yeah, just find a great big fat person.
Just
you've watched
insulate
Lost,
it
I
with
see.
tape.
The funny thing is about calculations is I think they actually did the calculation for that at the end of 2 where you do shoot at the moon.
Oh, really?
As a spoilers for Portal 2, I guess. But they calculate out the time it would take. And actually, that's how long it takes in the game.
That game's so good, you guys.
That is such a fun moment in that game. I'm sorry for spoiling everything at the end of Portal 2. What do you think about this, though? Hey, Valve, we're going for realism. What do you think about like the little moon buggy being up there? Like, right? I think it's on the moon, right where you shot the portal. It's like, what are the odds of that? Come on.
Oh, yeah.
Of,
Just
like,
the
shooting
chances that you would hit it where
right.
the
What
US
do you think?
landed.
We're not going to recognize it as the moon without the buggy? Come on, forget about it.
it looks better.
Yeah.
So.
It's optics.
Gravity gun would be cool too.
Any kind of teleporter? I can't name of a specific one, but I'm sure there's a teleporter
Is
somewhere.
it cheating to be lightsaber? Does it have to be from a video game? Not
What would
like
you do with a lightsaber?
cook hot dogs.
You make
Seriously,
toast.
if I handed you a lightsaber right now and said, all right, you have the entire weekend, you can do whatever you want with it.
Swing it around?
Yeah, exactly.
I'd probably like chop trees down. I'd go into the forest. and,
Oh,
cut
that's
trees
pretty
down.
good.
Would you make the sound effects with your mouth?
Yeah, I probably would.
Would you survive the weekend?
No.
Be like, check this out.
Neither would this package of hot dogs.
I like the
Hold on,
idea
hold
of you
on.
being very careful about opening a packet of hot dogs.
How
with
would
a
you
light-
cook hot dogs with a lightsaber? Just hold it near the lightsaber?
Aren't they hot?
Yeah, I guess, but that's the idea. Is
I
you
would
just
use
hold
the
it-
lightsaber as the skewer
But it would just
stick.
disintegrate the hot dog. It wouldn't survive
You
that.
wouldn't- yeah, it wouldn't be like, oh, look, the hot dog is protruding out of both sides of this lightsaber.
Maybe I'd just brush it softly. Good doggy. Now get in my mouth.
Oh, it's
I'm very glad you got this
plasma-y,
lightsaber to
hot
cook
dog.
these hot dogs. That's like the most effective use
You
of
make
that.
toast. That's what you do with it. You cut a loaf of bread like in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
That's really good.
If we had two lightsabers, would you guys be too scared to like
Play Beat
bang them
Saber?
against each other?
No, I would. I'd be up for that. But not like,
knowing this could kill you
but
in any
softly.
second.
not
right?
like a legitimate fight, but just like, all right, we're gonna bang these together and see what it sounds like.
I
I'd be
would,
up for
I would.
that.
Your arm would have to be so far outstretched just to try and test it, because you don't know if it's gonna like fly back super far or
Oh yeah.
Oh.
it could do some weird stuff. We don't know what that really
Yeah.
feels like.
When I was in high school, me and my friends bought some of those kendo sticks, those like fake bamboo swords, and we went out into the church parking lot and just fake sword fought and like really went at it, and we kept hitting each other in the knuckles, which hurt a lot. And so like for 6 months, I had like sore knuckles.
Nice.
I did something very
broke a
similar to that,
stick.
honestly.
Yeah?
Sword fight with kendo sticks in the parking lot, except that we were having
Wait, was
like
it
a
you two
tournament.
fighting each other?
Yeah, it was this guy I didn't know at the time.
Did
but
one of your friends throw the kendo stick at the beginning to see if he could land the first hit, and then?
that was me.
Oh my God, Reese, you're my childhood friend.
Is this Nidhogg? Philip Stewart says, "Oh hi, could you guys please share your thoughts about the Epic Games Store and Steam fiasco? I get it's annoying to have multiple apps. It's like having Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and trying to remember which was which. But I don't quite understand the extent of all the hate coming out towards stuff like the Metro game, Metro Exodus, becoming an exclusive on Epic. Are people overreacting? What's going on here?
Well, Valve is annoyed by it, but are consumers annoyed by it?
You want to explain why Valve is annoyed? How
Because-
they're
well-
expressing their annoyance?
They posted something basically displacing the blame away from them and onto
Yeah.
the publisher of Metro.
Right.
Which it does sound like they were kind of, the rug was pulled out from under them a little bit.
Right. They said
now,
we were also shocked by how
Because Metro was
quickly
on
this came out.
Steam, and then Epic announced that it was going to be exclusive, so now you can't buy Metro
Yeah,
on
but
Steam.
pre-orders still
Are still
work
being
on Steam.
honored, yeah.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I did totally pre-order.
Oh,
on
did
Steam.
you?
Yeah, I have
Oh,
a Steam
funny.
copy now. I have a rare Steam copy of Metro.
I know there have been other
I'm
online
stupid.
stores for a long time, but it's felt like effectively Steam has had a monopoly for a long time.
You could ignore it safely. Yeah.
Yeah, and like now there's some competition there, and so obviously that's not good for Steam. Theoretically, it's good for consumers, even though like I kind of want everything in one place.
Of course we do. Yeah. And it is that tough balance of, you say people aren't pissed about it, but there's
I
a
don't
lot
know.
of,
I was asking.
There are, there's a
Yeah.
lot of comments out there of
Okay.
like, oh, make me download another thing. I need to create another account. I don't want to split my game library. Like there are people annoyed, even though ultimately, in theory, it could bring down prices. Metro Exodus is getting docked $10 for going on Epic.
It's
That's
also
cool.
weird because like if you look at Epic's strategy with the store, is to basically steal games away from other storefronts, which is like a weird strategy to pursue.
Especially
but it's kind of
games
what
that-
they have to do.
Yeah, but it's weird because it's games that are so close to coming out, like Division 2 and Metro over there. It's like they are making some big deals fast, and it's wild to see.
Because like, I mean, obviously it wouldn't get them as far, but like even just having the games be $10 cheaper on the Epic Store would be because of the revenue split.
That's
huge.
And their Fortnite money, like that would be a big advantage that they would have. But they're going that extra mile of saying like, not only do we want you to play it on our store, we don't want you to like interact with other stores. We want you to come to our store. Like that. That is like that is sort of, I think, the thing that is in part rubbing people the wrong way.
I think it's smart too because like Epic's thinking long term.
Yeah.
They know Fortnite's not gonna last forever, but so it's like that sets something up.
Right.
Yeah.
This other system.
They're laundering their Fortnite money with this. Epic
That's
Store.
right.
Yeah.
It is going to be more and more frustrating for consumers, though, if they are doing these late grabs. Just for, all right, I pre-ordered on Steam. Now I don't know if my friends will be able to play it on here with me, right? If they keep grabbing all these games out. If it's like Far Cry New Dawn, right? That's got to have co-op in there. It's like Ubisoft already did The Division. Are they going to pull Far Cry at the last second, too? Like, that's where it gets frustrating.
Yeah. No, I think it's fair to be annoyed by it for sure.
Yeah. Richard from Louisville, Kentucky, first God's country ever, says, hey, I have a question. Which of your favorite games of all time is the one that you would be most embarrassed to talk about with non-gamers you love and respect? For instance, as much as I enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn, I would feel like a real stupid face if I had to describe it to my in-laws or to my professors.
That's weird.
I would almost say every game I've ever played.
Yeah, there's very few games that I would want to talk about with like non.
Yeah, let's see. 1979, The Revolution or whatever. I'd feel pretty smart talking about that one.
Yeah.
Outside of that, it's a
Shadow of the
real...
Colossus is the only game that's art, obviously.
Honestly, I did. As like a first date one time, it's like, all right, games are going to come up at some point here. How's the reaction going to be? And it's a very lovely lady. She's like, oh, what are like your favorite games? I was like, well, I guess I have two. And it was like Shadow of the Colossus and Final Fantasy VII. I was like, they're dumb names. You wouldn't understand it. You're not into it. And she's like, no, tell me about it. Like, what's Final Fantasy VII about? And it's like, oh, God. You're like this guy going on an adventure and the world's all bad. It's like, I'm just going to walk out, ma'am.
Yeah.
Nice meeting you.
I would hate to explain Dota to anyone who didn't even. I hate explaining Dota to people who do play Dota.
Yeah, I hate when you explain Dota over and over again.
Look, there's two sides.
I do think
true.
about games that like my parents are very supportive and they understand like video games, but they don't play them themselves. They don't really understand them. And I always think about like if I could get my dad to like sit down and play like one game, what would it be? And I think it would be Portal 2. I think
Ooh,
I don't
a
know
long one.
mechanically like maybe he would struggle with it, but the writing is just so good in that game and it's so funny.
Have you considered RBI baseball?
Yeah, no,
Dad loves
good one.
baseball.
Yeah, he would like baseball. I showed him Red Dead. He seemed interested in that because he likes westerns. So.
Oh, cute cowboys on the TV.
That's what he said.
Oh,
Look at all these cute cowboys.
you tried to
is
kiss the TV.
adorable.
That was weird. I don't understand.
Mwah, mwah, mwah.
My Arthur.
Leave me alone, cow. My voice is changing. Sure.
Do you want a kiss? Sure.
Sure.
Oh, hell, getting kissed by that Hilliard dog.
Getting kissed by the guy on the screen here.
Are we tapped out? Anybody else got any jokes?
It's always a goddamn plan.
Anyways, unplanned pregnancy. Anyways, Chris from Chandler, Arizona says, hey, Ben and crew, what is your biggest concern about an upcoming game that you're excited to play? For example, after playing the entire Devil May Cry franchise this past month, I'm very much looking forward to Devil May Cry 5. Well, 5. However, I'm very worried that every boss fight will be repeated for each character like in DMC4.
I don't think that'll be the case in 5 specifically, because I think that was the takeaway that everyone had from 4 was how repetitive it was. But like,
Yeah.
Also, we've established that Capcom is good now.
that's true.
Yeah,
Hey, good job, Capcom. Good job.
My concern about 5 is that they're not going to nail the ARM ammo stuff as well as they think they want to, where people are going to hesitate to use them. I think they are trying to incentivize people to always be using those arms, but like even just the fact that there's ammo for those things, I think could go either way.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think I'm with him in that. I'm really excited for it.
I worry that Pokemon on the Switch is going to be extremely hand-holdy like Sun and Moon was. As much as I love Sun and Moon, like if you remember playing that for the Game Club in particular, where we talked about it for so much, it was just go from point A to point B, B to C, C to D, bop, bop, B to bop. It's just that ad
They invented a
infinitum.
new alphabet. It was crazy.
What would you like him to do at this point? Like, how would they fix that?
Breath of
formula?
the Wild.
Yeah. But you
Which-
can just
Would
go
you
catch
still have
Pokemon.
turn-based battles? I don't understand.
Yeah, you could do that.
Just walk
Absolutely.
like you walk through tufts of grass in an open world environment.
Yeah,
and-
which
some
was so
reason-
frustrating that on that cover, or not on the cover story trip, but on that trip, we went to Game Freak and we talked to them about that. It's like there's a video interview that we posted where it's just literally me saying, "Please make Breath of the Wild style, like just completely open ended. Let us like give power back to the players in Pokemon." And they're like, "I don't think so.
Sure.
Not so
The
much."
physics of throwing Pokeballs at Pokemon. Every time you aim, you have to. It goes into a third-person shooter view where you have to like, and there's the arcs, and you have to throw it.
That sounds great to me.
Land critical ball hits where you land on the head and
Yeah.
easier to catch.
Multiplicative gameplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was playing Codenames last night. This is a relevant story. But 3 of the cards were like grass, kid, and triangle. And I said Zelda. You think
Yeah.
you would have got that?
well, I don't know. I guess I have to see what the other words are. But
No,
triangle.
you don't need-
Okay. Grass, kid, triangle. I think that's
that's
good.
fair.
They didn't get grass, which I was frustrated
And you're
about.
playing with Kyle's dad?
Yeah. He kept saying, "Where's the cow?
Where's the cow?
There's the cow.
I'm in love with the cow.
Bring out that cow."
I think these impressions are just getting muddled and confused the further we
I
go.
think it's
started
very
out
clear.
strong.
We know exactly the character that Kyle's dad is. in this
Oh,
show.
not
Why
sure.
are you confused?
Okay, here's an email that I liked, and then I said, well, this is impossible on a podcast, and I cut it. And it's like, I like it so much, I have to go back and do it.
Okay.
Brad from San Clemente, California says, hey, panel, can you guess which game industry company each stock belongs to?
Oof. Okay.
Wait, he's gonna tell us a
Wait,
like
the
stock
acronym?
price?
No, the stock ticker going from the start of the company. So here are 4 video game companies. I understand this is
what?
impossible
Okay.
for the audio listeners, but try and
Should
describe
we hold it up?
Are
or
there
anything?
years on there?
I think I know.
They're
Yes,
years.
there are
okay,
years.
so start with the first one and describe what's
no, that's
happening.
helpful.
I'll put it on the screen
Why
for the
did
video
you do
version. But
this?
for audio listeners, look at that first one and tell me what's happening to that stock.
Okay, so that's 2002. It spikes in 2008, then dips.
When does it start?
2000. I don't know, like 2000, 2001, something
Okay.
like that.
So it's pretty flat from like
You think that's the beginning,
the
of the
beginning,
company?
whenever
It's
that
not.
is.
Are these
I thought it
developed?
was, but it's not.
Can we get a hint of like developer versus publisher?
These are all publishers.
publishers.
What were the
okay.
biggest
I would
games
say
in
this-
2008?
First one is Nintendo.
When did the Wii come out? Oh yeah, that was around. That was like
2006?
That was around, but it didn't. But it wouldn't dip so much because it's dipping a lot, and I don't think Nintendo dipped that much.
And what year
this
did
is
it
like
dip?
around the time of the 3DS. So.
Oh, that's it. Wii U. You guys, you want to go with Nintendo for one?
Sure,
It's
let's go with
Nintendo,
Nintendo.
correct.
All right,
Well
all
done.
right,
Have
all
you
right.
never
Hey,
seen it?
Look at that. Good job,
Good job.
Cyril.
So the next one starts out, I don't know what year this is. It's a blank
Zero,
year.
it says
Oh,
zero.
93. Sorry, 83.
When is the biggest spike?
And the big spike comes at the beginning of 99, probably in 2000, continues on, and then dips off. And it's kind of even for the rest of the decade. So I don't know. What was the biggest game in like 99, 2000?
Could one game do that?
I don't know. Maybe it's a
Is it a
console?
2K or something? No.
Dreamcast? Could it be Sega?
No, I don't think
Dreamcast didn't do
if
well.
if the Dreamcast sold that well, I don't think they would have failed.
Xbox? Would they have had a
Maybe.
huge spike like this?
But
at
I
the
feel
beginning
like
of Halo?
well, no, because like wouldn't it start rising after the 360?
Yeah.
Because I feel like the 360 did better than the original Xbox ever did.
That's like a one-hit wonder right there.
Yeah. THQ?
What console?
Oh, no, it's the one-hit wonder known as Sony.
Oh, yeah, Sony.
That's the PlayStation 2
Oh, this is the
launch.
PS2.
Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
so
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yep.
And then, yeah.
That was my second
This
guess.
is PS3, and then climb
Yep.
back up.
Okay, next one.
Next one is a slow, steady climb.
With a slight
And then,
bump in the middle,
Epic.
and then it.
Well, I'm doing here. You think it's Epic?
Yeah.
It totally could be.
Slow, steady climb.
Or
Oh yeah.
it could be this
2000,
one,
yeah,
too.
around the Xbox launch.
Yeah, it
So what
starts
year
in
does it start to pick up?
97.
Okay.
Starts in 95.
Okay.
I think they would have had like a bigger launch back here, but
I'm
it
going
could,
Epic.
Could be Epic.
So it looks like from my vision, it looks like crazy ratch up, almost exponential. Around what years that start, Raves?
2017.
Gearbox, maybe?
Is there a drop off recently?
No.
There is a drop off really recently, very recently. So you don't think it's Epic?
I feel like
I'll
Epic-
stick
It's
with
not
it.
Epic.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not
because
Epic.
they wouldn't drop.
Epics would be more
They're still
spiky, I
climbing.
think.
What game series is always number one on the sales chart, and like over the last 10 years has just kind of been picking up steam.
Wait,
Call of Duty?
what?
Correct. It's Activision.
Oh, this is Activision?
It's Activision. You
Oh,
got it.
wow.
All right.
So in 2013 is when it's really started to ramp up.
What was
Yeah, I
their,
guess so.
What was their 2008 title that did pretty well for them?
Oh, that was X-Men Wolverine Origins,
Oh,
I
okay.
think. And then the last one is Microsoft. You get it. Anyways, funky game.
I was going to say Capcom because they're doing so good now.
Oh,
Good job, Capcom.
Good job,
by the way. Good job.
Capcom. Good job. Jordan from Fairfax, Virginia says, hey, I recently got New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe on the Switch. After finishing the first 3 worlds, I'm just kind of bored. I now turn to you all as gaming experts. Does any 2D platformer top Rayman Legends?
Tropical Freeze.
Better than Rayman Legends? I think
You know
you're
what?
out of
I
your
don't know.
effing mind.
I think they're neck and neck, but I think I got to give it to Rayman. Yeah.
I think it's probably my favorite 2D platformer.
Really? Even like Mario World
Oh,
going
yeah.
back.
Oh, yeah.
Because I went and replayed that recently. It's still
I
good.
played it for the first time like last year, 2 years ago or something. And Rayman Legends just unquestionably more fun.
It's so much. Yeah. Rayman Legends is very good. Another, I love Missplosion Man, which came out recently.
Oh.
I really
Wow.
love that game.
Came out recently.
Or re-released. It came out on Switch. I don't know. I don't think it was Xbox One or anything, but Switch it's out on. Which if you're into 2D platformers, I really love
Yeah,
that
that's a
game.
good one.
I think I don't know. I don't know if it's in the same genre, but I really love M++.
You want to keep your voice down when you say that?
M++.
Don't let them know.
But realistically, what do you guys think is number one 2D platformer? You're saying Mario World and plus?
I don't know.
How do you think Rayman Legends stacks up against New Super Mario Brothers?
Oh, just wipes the floor with it.
No. Sorry, New Super Mario World, the
are you talking
4-player
about?
one on Wii U.
Oh, 3D World?
That's
Yeah.
exactly what he's.
But that's a 3D platform.
Oh,
I'm just saying, how's it stack
Super
up?
Mario 3D World. Okay.
Is it good?
Yeah,
I think they came out the same year.
Yeah,
I think we
and
literally had to stack them up.
and we had a platformer debate.
We had a huge debate during the top
Yeah.
50 that year, and Mario won. Which
I
is very
pushed for
frustrating.
Rayman.
Yeah,
I think I was
like,
fighting Rayman.
We always put Mario on the best platformer. Anyway,
Right.
whatever.
Great.
I mean, that game.
And
was
it is
very
good.
3D World was
But come
awesome.
on.
I don't know why that was a debate, the first one.
No, it was best platform of the year, I think.
Yeah,
and
that
I was
year.
saying Rayman because I thought it was
Right.
in terms of just platforming and being fun to jump.
Yeah.
you know, I thought it was Rayman. But
Is it fun to jump? Scott Campbell from Spokane, Washington says, "Ban, you mentioned that checking this email inbox." Sound like my own grandma. You mentioned that checking this email inbox is in your top 3 highlights of your week. What are your other 2? Other hosts, what are your favorite moments of your weeks?
Other hosts.
Other people, shut
sure.
I
up.
like Sunday because I don't work.
Hey, you want to speak down a little bit
I like Sunday
because you don't work?
I don't work.
Because you work Saturdays
because I work Saturday.
and you don't come in Mondays.
Yeah, but they're still like Mondays. They're still like cleanup of like, hey, this deliverable needs
we still send you messages.
Why are you so
Yeah.
quiet?
because
What's happening?
I don't know.
Do you think this person was asking specifically about our work week?
I think just in general.
Because everyone's going to say, like, oh, the weekend, I got to play
Yeah,
games.
like
Really?
I'd have
Right,
to
he
go
wants
to
like
work.
specific
Yeah,
things.
I think it's like checking the email for the podcast.
Okay.
That inbox I think is up there. I think when you launch a podcast and there starts to be specific comments on YouTube that call it like specific moments.
Yeah.
That's probably my number 1 favorite.
Okay.
Number 3 is probably like every Thursday I play like old games with a friend and stuff. That's probably my favorite.
You know what I like every other week? I mean, this sounds almost like a joke, but it's not. But like every other week, getting to see your paycheck deposit in your checking account and seeing it in there is very like it calms me
It
down.
refreshes you.
Really? Yeah, like because
okay, I'm doing
I
good
get
now.
Yeah, it's just it's
that
nice
is
to
such
see
an
it like
afterthought.
yeah.
I
No.
never look anymore.
Yeah, my goal
God, you
with all
guys are, like,
finances,
millionaires.
is I never look at anything. I just assume there's money in there, and like my life is
Smart.
clean if I don't see a number.
Good.
Yeah, it's fine. I'm not buying cars. It's fine.
The government keeps calling me, but
Yeah.
don't worry.
Hello, it's the government.
Oh God, it's the government.
Give us your car. Felix Davin.
Oh my
Wait,
God.
Hanson, you didn't answer that one, did you?
Yeah, I did. I totally
just
did. Yeah.
All right,
It's-
never
it's
mind.
when-
You did.
It's when I signed the check for Kyle's paycheck.
Thanks for doing that every other week. I appreciate it.
Felix Davin says, "Hey crew, what's the windiest place you've ever been to?"
Chicago.
Hey!
Don't call it the Windy City for nothing, right?
There's a place in North Carolina I went to where it's so windy that the snow is horizontal up on high on a mountain. That was
Oh.
pretty windy. I don't remember where it was though.
Okay.
Grandpa Mountain,
Sounds pretty
something like
made
that.
up. All
In
right.
terms of places I've traveled to, like outside of Minnesota.
It could be a windy place in Minnesota.
I don't know.
I think it's Kyle's house because it's full of hot air.
Ah!
Hey, where's that cow?
Yeah.
Fives.
My house is full of hot air because the heater is on right now. So like but aren't all you guys? I mean, it's like negative
No.
20
Mine.
degrees.
There's
this
a
week.
big
No.
hole in my
Nope.
house. Right?
No.
In my apartment.
That's what you guys save so
We don't
much
have-
money on.
We don't have horny
heating.
dads.
What?
Nope.
I don't know. Remember when we were in
Mine's
Finland?
sterile.
Also, if I have hot air circulating
Shut
through
up.
my house, it's not really
Shut up.
windy. It's
When Reeves, when we were in Helsinki,
Yeah.
Finland, we went to that island, and
Yeah.
it was really windy there, and there was a guy on a
I don't just call it a parachute thing.
he was on a parachute flying around. He's like, oh yeah.
Just waving at everybody.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where it's like everybody was staring and pointing and looking, and he just started trying to ignore everybody because they think he was just having fun.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah. What the heck?
Now that I think about it, I think that was Kyle's dad.
sure.
So he had all those cow stickers on his body.
What is this narrative that has been created about cows?
No, that's your
I don't
parachute.
know if it's your dad loves cows or he makes love to cows.
confusing.
Okay, let's see.
It's funny because he's like basically a vegetarian too.
yeah, because he
Because he loves cows.
ate all those cows. Oh, what? Okay, here we go. Victor from GR and MI, Grand Rapids, Michigan. Let's go with yes.
Sure.
Saying, hey, crew. Just so you know, the greatest work of art known to mankind is obviously the song "Devil Trigger" from Devil May Cry 5.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty good.
God, I can hear it now.
Meal of the week right there.
Blake W. Barber says, hey, Beethoven's Ninth is great, but Mahler's Second is the pinnacle of art as it describes the composer's death and ascension to heaven. Leo, can you play Mahler's Second? Hey, the only Mahler's Second I care about is Secondary Fire and Mahler's in Perfect Dark, right? Insta-kill,
Hey,
glowing hot red.
Hey,
Kabang,
joke
kabang.
everybody understand.
We all know the Mahler from Perfect Dark. Okay, so if you weren't familiar, people have been writing and saying, what is the greatest work of art ever
Yeah, I love
created
it.
by mankind on planet Earth? Right now, it's either Hamilton or the WWE. Seems to be the choice.
What about Garfield minus Garfield?
Oh, I think something related to that might be coming up.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Do you have a thought, Surreal?
I think the wrestling one was weird because
Yeah.
it's like a whole genre. Like he attributed to the whole genre of wrestling.
It's too broad.
Yeah, professional wrestling is. I don't know.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
it's
you-
like saying soap operas.
Right. If you're gonna
Right,
pick,
right.
pick like the WWE, I think is a better choice. Not
about
that
The
I
Rock?
agree, but like attributing it to the art of professional wrestling is.
Yeah. Oh, hang on. Is this Mahler's Second?
Are we ascending to heaven?
Hold on, I feel moved.
I've never even heard this in a commercial.
That's the
Can't be
that's
that
the
good.
line.
Was this an Infinity War?
Yeah. Does this
No, I
play
think
in
it's in the
Peggle?
Spider-Man soundtrack.
Anyways, Brad Grins writes in, it says, I have long maintained that the greatest work of art and literature in the history of mankind is in fact, I didn't say stop, Leo, is in fact Calvin and Hobbes.
Oh, interesting.
There is no other work that so perfectly encapsulates the journey of childhood, blending imagination, humor, and philosophy with iconic art and a sense of nostalgia borders on transformative. This is all the more impressive when you consider it was produced by Will Watterson as a daily comic strip over the course of 10 years. It's timeless and beautiful.
You know what? I'm gonna say, I think Calvin Hobbes gets better the older you are.
Oh, really? Why is
Yeah.
that?
Just because he like works philosophy and stuff into the comic, and it's still amusing, but it's like kind
Makes
of
you
adult
think.
amusing. If you,
It's like
you
the
know what I
good
mean.
place.
I don't know, but have you seen Infinity War?
And have you watched? Have you watched the last episode? Have you seen the last like comic strip?
Yeah, where they go off on an adventure, right?
I don't want to spoil it.
What happened?
Well, it's just like it's this fade out and like Hobbes is like a stuffed animal, and it's just like hey, it's not real.
It says, and lo, he was not real.
That's right.
Isn't that the point of the comic? Or is that not established until the last one?
I don't know.
It was really affecting for Reeves.
Made a really strong case.
It's art, dude.
It's like
Christian-
Kingdom Hearts. You don't really understand it. You just kind of experience
In my
it,
mind,
you
Kingdom
know?
Arts. Christian Kalinowski from Farmingdale, New York says, the most beautiful work of art, in my opinion, are the pyramids. They are a realistic representation of many themes that exist in every culture. They were built for the wealthy by the oppressed population. The design is simple yet very difficult to achieve. They are timeless. They are built for so that those who came to be buried with them could enter the afterlife with the worldly possessions they could fit with them. They used to be on the list of 7 man-made wonders of the world. Who made that list? That's the
Hammurabi.
BuzzFeed. I
that was
think.
his code?
Yeah.
Just the sweet list? Yeah.
If you decoded
I
it.
think the pyramids would have been better if they were more thematically appropriate and had 3 sides instead of 4.
Right.
Oh, yeah, come on, guys.
Jacob from Carbondale, Illinois says, hey, why no Shakespeare love? Greatest work of art? Hello? Romeo and Juliet? Macbeth? Hamlet, anybody? Hello? However, my vote is actually for GTA 5, the best-selling entertainment product in history, generating $6 billion in revenue since it was released. Yeah, I guess Mr. Moneybags. If that's all that matters for art.
Nico's cool though.
Wait, do you like 5 the best, though?
It's 5, not 4. Do I like 5 the best?
Yeah.
No, I like San Andreas the best.
No. Yeah, I like 4 the best.
Yeah, I
4 the
kind of like
best.
Vice City the most.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of Vice City, Rushdan Majumder writes in and says, hey, Ben and crew, I think Michael Jackson's Thriller music video is the greatest piece of art of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's no Billie Jean, but it's good.
I mean, but like for an epic music video, I don't know if it really touches on core themes of humanity other than it's funny to scare this woman.
But also the biggest issue with it is that it's not sabotage by the Beastie Boys.
Oh, and that's the greatest work of art?
That's the greatest music video / work of art.
Wait,
I guess
so.
so.
What's better, Metal Gear Solid 2 or the video for Sabotage?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a hard question,
Wait,
Sarah.
can you pick the greatest work of art, or is it subjective in some way?
No,
there's
it's
there's
objective.
a right
Yeah.
answer.
Ryan Shaw from Vancouver, Washington
trying to
says,
find
hey, to end the greatest work of art debate of all time, I will present the hands down undisputed greatest piece of work of art of all time. It's the joke that Leo will tell in 3, 2, 1.
I've just been wondering if Mahler's Second is the greatest work of all time, and we're being smart and funny over it, then is this now the greatest piece of art of all time?
Yeah, you're also you're welcome to read Calvin and Hobbes comic strips, and we'll talk over those as well.
If we
then.
just put enough good things together, I
Yeah.
think we just make them all better, right?
And if
let's
you could
see.
just have the Colonel call in every few minutes with the...
Sure. Wait, is Kyle's dad the Colonel?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
Arian
Thanks
from
for settling.
Australia. Arian from Australia says, not talking about the film, but the song, the greatest work of art of all time is Bohemian Rhapsody. Let's see. Oh, Jonah Dickhouse from Memphis, Tennessee says, hey, I know I'm a week late, but I hope the topic is still up for debate. It is greatest work of art of all time, the Voyager Golden Record.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
top 2 top.
Is that a single work of art?
I think
That's
it is.
well, it's like a greatest hits of humanity, isn't it?
Yeah, so the 2...
That's the one that has like the sound of a beating heart that's in love recorded on it, right?
Yep.
Okay, you
the
know
2 Voyager spacecrafts launched in 1977 contain 12-inch gold-plated records. On the record is a diagram on how to play the record using the language of universal constants. When played, the record contains about 90 minutes of musical selections from tribal instruments and songs to Beethoven. What, no Mahler? Come on, forget about it. To modern as well as 70s music. It also has the sounds of nature, including wind, rain, the ocean, and various animals. Also, still, there are greetings in 55 different languages going as far back as ancient Sumerian. There are also images showing the craft's point of origin relative to several galactic bodies, being that it could take hundreds of millions or even billions of years for these probes to reach any other intelligent spacefaring life form. If there were any at all, these records would act as the time capsule, essentially saying, we are humans, this is who we are.
That's pretty damn good.
That's pretty good.
Good case.
That's very
So the
tough to-
greatest work of art could be love.
Yeah, that's what
Damn.
Interstellar's
Human
all
love.
about.
Oh, that is true. A lot of great emails. Thank you for writing into podcast@gameformer.com, everybody. Do you want to do something dumb?
Pick the email of the week.
Yeah, what do you guys like for email of the week?
I liked the invention question. I liked
you did?
hearing Reeves talk about trying to cook a hot dog with a lightsaber. I thought that was a lot of fun for me.
Okay.
Felt like
All
we
right.
got off the rails with that one. but-
I mean, I guess you don't care about rails.
yeah, I don't know.
That's pretty good. All right, do you guys
This
have...
chart one, is this in the running at all?
I like that one.
I kind of like it
It's
as
kind
a
of a
concept,
weird-
even
yeah,
though
yeah.
I don't know if it translated.
Yeah, it'll be tough to
Audio.
Audio
translate.
listeners, let us know.
Okay, so the tech, that's good. I like talking about epic games. I like talking about translators. Speaking of translated, I like the gore. Small details in games. I'll go
Small details
tech
I like.
if you guys want to go to tech.
What was tech again?
The
Any
hot
tech
dog
from a game?
lightsaber.
Yeah. All right. That made the
okay.
show better. Let's do it. That's
Yeah.
Jake from Springfield, Vermont. Congratulations. Email of the week.
Good job,
On
Jake.
the big board. You did it. For now, do you guys want to have the second installment ever of, as everybody recalls from the last episode, which
Yeah.
was
Yep.
whenever we talked about Mega Man 11? This is Suriel's Surreal, Serial, Seriously Serial series. where our own Suriel Vasquez will review video game themed cereal. Kyle, do you want to talk about what we got here?
Okay, so we have
On tonight's show.
we have milk and a bowl and spoons. I got you 2 spoons for some reason. I don't know what my thinking was there.
For your second mouth.
So I can eat with both hands.
But I also purchased you this Funko Pac-Man cereal, as well as the Funko, what is this? Don't Deal with the Devil Cuphead cereal.
Now, do you want to try just one of those? Which one are you choosing, Suriel?
What do you
Pac-Man or Cuphead?
I'm gonna be honest, just from the box art, these look identical except for the color.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna.
These look more chocolatey, and these look more lemony.
What is this
true.
music?
I will say,
Leah?
this Pac-Man on the box just does not look like Pac-Man.
This is
I don't
the
know what
most
they
important
did.
Pac-Man.
Well, it's like a Funko
I like the one in
figure.
Street Fighter Cross Tekken more than this Pac-Man.
It's like the Chinese knockoff.
Let's do Pac-Man.
Okay.
Pac-Man
All right.
it is.
All right.
Sorry, devil
We'll
man.
get to you, Cuphead.
One day.
Now, Suriel,
We
how
won't-
often do you eat cereal?
About once or twice a week.
Okay. Oh, is there a toy
Oh,
in there?
what?
Oh, a little
Congrats.
Pac-Man
That's
Funko
good.
guy.
I don't want that near me, so.
Get that out of my face.
So Funko Pops, in addition to destroying popular culture as we know it, they also make cereal now?
I think they decided to make cereal because, like, what else can we sell?
We ran out of
Stores.
human beings to turn into Funko Pops.
We're out of ideas.
I was
Hey, we can't do any worse.
I was on
I'm
a cover
surprised they don't
story
have
trip.
little soulless eyes in these things.
Yeah. That's the special ingredient. Leo, what was that sound?
This one came out
I
partially
searched
brown.
cereal on Spotify, and I was going to play the top result, but then I realized we might get copyright
That was-
struck, so
that
that
is
was
too
the
much.
very last result.
Let's describe
Cereal
what
by
they-
Violet
okay.
Rock.
These look like inflated Fruit Loops. Like
Or, yeah,
someone pumped a
Cheerios
bunch
or
of air
something.
into Fruit Loops, but they're all yellow.
gonna
Except
put
for that
some-
one that came out, it's kind of brown.
Yeah, aim
got
for
some
that
milk
one
in
with
that
the
sucker?
spoon.
You
got it? I'll let you
I was
handle it.
describing the cereal as it is. Okay.
You got it till February 6th to take care of that milk, so.
Take care of it.
Oh, yeah, you got to take care of it.
Are you
What if
talking
you
about
leave
a
it out
cover
for an
story trip?
hour recording a podcast?
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, it's cold enough
All
in
right.
this studio. It's
Yeah, right.
Minnesota, everybody. All right, take a bite. Get some ASMR thrills going here.
All right, so he's taking a bite. Oh, excuse me.
Hey, listeners, you guys into that?
These are really bad Fruit Loops.
They're just yellow Fruit
They're
Loops?
okay. They are absolutely worse in every way. They're only one flavor
Okay.
of fruit.
Which one?
I don't know. It's just
Pac-Man.
sweet and fruity.
Banana?
Maybe banana. They're larger,
Oh.
so they're harder to chew. They're rougher, so they're harder to chew. And they're they're floatier. Is the only way I can describe
It
them.
has like a medicine-y taste or something.
Yeah,
It's like fruity, but like fruity in the way that like a Flintstones vitamin is fruity.
they're like glazed slightly with something.
But there's
It's
just
a-
so much sugar in them that I'm gonna have another bite.
It's a little bit like Captain Crunch pieces if they were like inflated and bigger and then medicine-y and a little bit lemon, but then like a
Yeah,
tart
maybe it's lemon.
butthole aftertaste.
Just like Pac-Man.
I don't know if this is what I think Pac-Man tastes like.
I guess
I
now
don't
I
think it's
know.
con-
What do you
What
think
did
Pac-Man
Pac-Man
tastes
taste like?
like?
I don't know. I feel like there's cherry, like a cherry aftertaste.
Because he eats a lot of cherries.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's the idea. Maybe that's why. Are there lemons in Pac-Man?
There's strawberries and
Maybe it
cherries. in
says
there?
somewhere. Like in the very
It
small
says
text
it's a
on the
tasty
bottom.
treat that's fun to eat.
That's
multi-grain.
That's a lie.
Good God.
I bet it tastes like a lizard.
Let me see.
Suriel, you did it.
some
Thank you
use
for
of
reviewing it. If you
So
had
we
to give
got-
it a number on the Game Informer review scale.
I would say it's new for $7.99.
It's new?
All right.
I don't know, probably like a 6.
Oh,
Yeah, that seems high.
That's generous.
That is
Yeah.
very generous
Yeah.
for the taste of
You know what?
cereal.
bring it
from
down?
hell.
Let's say like a 4.
Four. All right, keep your
Okay,
voice
that
down,
sounds
please.
about right.
All right.
Reeves, we have one more email. David from Omaha writes in and says, "Hey, representing the pretty okay state of Nebraska, when I heard
correct.
Ben Reeves got Kirby Squeak Squad for the Every Game's Interesting Challenge, my jaw nearly hit the floor. Squeak Squad is one of my favorite DS games and my second favorite Kirby game.
Oh.
Would you like to find out how interesting Kirby Squeak Squad can be?
Would I?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right,
Would
stay
you?
tuned. Absolutely.
All
Here
right.
comes Every Game is Interesting. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. This is it. We're here to prove that every game is interesting. I'm here. We have Andrew Reiner here.
Hello.
We have Ben Reeves.
Hello.
We have Jeff Cork.
Hi.
And very special guest, our special gaming celebrity judge for every game is interesting. We have Brandon Jones from Easy Allies. Welcome, sir. Where are you calling in from?
So excited. Calling in from very not sunny Los Angeles right now.
Oh, I understand. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. We had Tim Turry last time, and this is clearly an upgrade.
A
massive upgrade.
It's going to be great. So we have 5 games here, randomly chosen out of a list of 7,724, I do believe. And we're going to give a 3-minute speech.
3 minutes?
It doesn't need to be 3 minutes. That's the cap.
That's really interesting.
Cut us off.
Okay.
Clearly at 3 minutes. I think there should be an opportunity then for Brandon Jones, if he has any follow-up questions, he can ask.
Oh, no.
Okay.
What do you think about that?
I don't know if I am prepared for that aspect of this presentation.
And this is the thing that Ben Reeves is really key on as well. Jones, you're not trying to judge your memories of the game specifically. This is almost like a speech competition where you're judging the presentation. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, you're a theatrical fella. You get the idea.
100%. I'm on board.
Okay, awesome. How's life at Easy Allies?
It's great. I'm extremely tired. Today was going to be my day off, and then you hit me up last night. I was like, all right, I'll get up for this.
This is going to take all day.
I'll get up, but I'm not going to turn the lights on.
Yeah, it's a momentous week. We just moved into a whole new space. We're all very excited.
Congrats.
It's so exciting. Yeah, I saw your tour on YouTube. That's super cool. It's like, I think there's a certain, it's a good boost. You know, when like NFL teams get a new stadium, they typically do better the next season. I feel like it'll improve the content overall, you know?
Yeah.
That's very
All I
exciting.
care about is morale. As long as the guys are happy, we could be in a closet somewhere. And as long as there's smiles on everybody's faces, then we're doing good stuff.
You guys are far too positive. It is so bizarre. I love the Easy Allies podcast. I want to know, do you guys like coach each other? Do you have rules or like pillars that you lay out ahead of time about like no snark, no one craps on each other, no matter what anybody says, we all smile and nod?
I think it's less about eliminating the snark and more about like the balance, the yin and yang. Like there's 9 of us, and so everyone has like their opposite. I was thinking about it, like I don't know if pick the right word, but like I'm not a fan of Kingdom Hearts. I'm a big fan of Disney, but I'm not a fan of Kingdom Hearts. And so like I'm like tiptoeing the last couple of weeks where it's like I want to get an opinion here and there but I don't necessarily need to make a point because we have so many guys on staff that are really excited about it. But there's still me, It's like we gave Last Guardian Game of the Year, and like Ian Hink hates that game. So it's like as long as there's a balance to things, then hopefully things can be equal.
But the smart thing about you guys, and I feel like a lot of gaming podcasts don't do this, we try, we sometimes succeed, is like, yeah, if you don't have something nice to say and you're not super informed in Kingdom Hearts, just shut up. It doesn't...
Most of the time, it's the right answer.
Right, but like in the Disney perspective, right, you can add some, something smart to say. But otherwise, like, don't just add on to a conversation.
Hey, there's a bunch of zippers on these costumes.
Yeah, that game took
very lame.
Hey, Nomura, what's his deal, huh? It's like, all right, we got it, everybody. Anyways, I love that I have you here. Reiner, would you want to go first?
No, because you went last time, and you had music and a big build-up.
There's no music this time.
You're going first.
You see how we treat each other, Jones? It's not positive at all.
No. Production value will be taken into consideration. That is a category. I understand.
No,
I'm assigning
look,
scores for each.
I would love to include music this time, but we're not doing it. We're going completely dry this time.
You got one of those silent games?
What's that?
You got one of those silent era of games?
Yeah, that's right. It's very good. Okay. My game is Sonic Rush on the Nintendo DS. Came out in 2005. Game Informer gave it a 7, and it's not in the vault, which was very handy for trying to play it and get reference. I would argue Sonic Rush is the gateway. It is the gateway drug, the gateway of Sonic games into the lowest point of the Sonic series. So interestingly, and I'm going to frame everything that way. It was announced at E3 2004 alongside a certain other project from Sega called Project Rub, which turned into Field of Magic XXXY. That'll be relevant later on. It was introduced as Sonic DS, and they had a tech demo in like beautiful early DS era where you like rub your hand back and forth on the screen to make Sonic go, as the screen represented 300 miles per hour, which was not a factor. And this was all completely in 3D. It ended up being a 2D game with 3D actual characters in there as well. And so they ended up using that early tech demo and reincorporated it. It's kind of like the bonus stage tech for the special stages in Sonic Rush. Overall, it had a tough development. They couldn't get the sprites to look right on the new tech. The Nintendo DS was really stumping them for a while. And it's also a good example of like a simple game, Sonic Rush. You don't think really much of it, but that's the point of this segment. You don't think much of it, but it's like a good insight into just the depth and history of Japanese game development. For example, it's like developed by Dimps. everybody, it's like one of the most overlooked game studios in a way. They're quietly churning out so many games, nobody really thinks about them. And they're co-founded, Dimps is co-founded by the original co-creator of the Street Fighter series. And Reiner, you'll love this. Also the designer of Moon Patrol, one of your favorites. But Dimps has made Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, a ton of Dragon Ball games like Budokai, a Crash Bandicoot game, Street Fighter 4, 5, Street Fighter Cross Tekken, and all the mobile Sonic games, as well as Sonic the Hedgehog 4, which everybody loves. Okay, so Sonic Rush, it was directed by Akinori Nishiyama, who, again, just proving the roots here, he goes back, he was a system planner for Phantasy Star 4. He's also designer on Ghostbusters for the Sega Genesis. He is, as a lot of fans see it, the reason Sonic took a huge dip, because he ended up running Sonic and the overall series after Yuji Naka's resignation up until 2010, which is really a crazy low point for Sonic overall. Tons of forums explaining that he's the reason everything went terrible. He said in an interview with the gaming magazine Level, he said, Sonic should not just be a hedgehog that runs very fast. It's just as important why he's running and what he's thinking about while running. He also defends, the Werehog, which was one of his creations. But the game itself, going back to, again, Japanese ties, genuinely listening to it, I think it's my favorite Sonic soundtrack. It's like everybody loves Green Hill Zone, obviously, but the soundtrack is incredible and bizarre. It's the same composer as Jet Set Radio. But it sounds absolutely fantastic. It has samples from like Feelin' Hot, Hot, Hot. I swear to God, they sampled Led Zeppelin on this soundtrack, and I'm seeing no one else talk about it, but I'm going to try and prove that later on. So with the game itself, if you own the game on the DS, you can actually give a demo to other people that own the DS. You can send it their way, which is a cool idea. This game, Sonic Rush, introduced the idea of being graded at the end of a level based on speed and throwness, which is then carried forward.
Speaking of the end, your time is up.
Really? 3 minutes. Oh my God, no!
I have just one follow-up question.
Yeah.
What day did that game come out on?
2005.
Oh, interesting.
I do not know the exact day. Did not write it down.
You didn't know the date.
Jones, any follow-up questions?
No, it's right on no date.
Damn it! The most interesting
It seems like that's the first thing you learn when you do research.
Yeah,
It's the most interesting thing about a game.
The gateway to the worst parts of Sonic, I think, was really a fascinating point that you touched on. Is that going to help me understand Sonic more from a historical perspective, or am I really going to feel that decline as I'm playing the game?
The game itself is not that bad. I think where it starts to fall off the rails, like they introduce Blaze the Cat, who then comes back in Sonic 2006, actually dies in 2006. Obviously, Blaze the Cat became very popular in a certain not safe for work corner of the website. I have more on that topic if you're interested, Jones.
No, that's good.
Okay, all right. Did several interviews, but if you don't want to get to that, that's fine. That's fine.
That's
cool.
fine. That's good.
Okay.
When's your book coming out?
Pretty soon, actually. I'm very excited. All right, that's Sonic Rush, I guess. I'll explain more later.
All right, I can go. I can follow that up.
Oh,
Should the rest of us get a 30-second warning? That seems fair, right?
Yeah, maybe
Yeah,
a 1
can you
minute.
get like a clock ticking when it's at 30 seconds?
Yeah, great.
Or just a good 1 minute warning overall.
He said, yeah, great, really fast, like, I'm not going to do that.
We'll see
Yeah,
what he
whatever,
does.
man.
All right, Andrew Reiner.
All right, am I on the clock?
Yes.
All right, I got Teenage Zombies, Invasion of the Alien Brain Thingies. Explanation point. This game came out on March 28th, 2008. It was developed by Inlight Entertainment, which has a 3.3 rating on Glassdoor. They have not posted on social media since 2015. I could not find any clarification if the company has gone under, but it appears it has. The last game they advertised was something called Log Jam Math, which was going to be on Leapfrog TV. Do you guys remember that?
Oh, boy.
Don't answer that. It's wasting my time. This is not based on any property. It seems like it would be, right? Like a cartoon or a comic book or anything like that. There was a Teenage Zombies movie from 1959, but there's no connection there. It is its own thing, and the premise is quite clever, I will say. Quite interesting. Earth is being invaded by floating alien brains in jars, and the only heroes that rise to the occasion are zombies. 3, to be exact. 3 zombies. Each one has different powers. One is named Lefty. He's tall, or she's tall. She can extend her arms to reach ledges. It's a platforming game. There's Half Pipe. Yes, that's a name of a zombie. Has no legs, and he's on a skateboard, so he's kind of a hip zombie dude. You can imagine what he does with platforming. He's very quick, but does not have a lot of control. And then there's Fins. Yes, Fins. He's like a fish, a zombie fish. Has weird tentacles. Maybe he's like an octopus on his back. Allows him to scale vertical walls. And he's a combat expert. So there's a combat platforming element. It's side-scrolling. Ben Reeves, right here, gave the game a 6.75 out of 10.
You reviewed it?
Which the Metacritic average was 68%. So Ben, you were right there.
Wow.
You said
Nailed it.
the slow pacing and bad combat tarnish what otherwise might have been a portable gem.
Wow.
Wow.
You only wrote like 4 lines in this review. You praised the humor. You said it was very good, but the rest of it really brought it down.
30-second warning.
And that's all I have. That is, I'll just waste my last 30 seconds saying the name of the game again. Teenage Zombies: Invasion of the Alien Brain Thingies! Exclamation point.
Very good. Well done.
Reeves, did you have any memory of reviewing that game?
I found this super fascinating and interesting because I don't.
I thought we said, like, I think it's Brian Vore. That feels like a Brian Vore joint we said last week.
Just had the name Ben.
Hey, good job, Reeves. And
thanks.
Reiner.
Thank you.
All right, Reeves, you're up, kid.
Oh, it's me? All right, here we go. Am I on the clock?
Yes.
All right. I have Kirby's Squeak Squad is the name of my game. And as I learned last time, it's really good to start with a really bold statement and bring in the audience. So what I'd like to say is Kirby's Squeak Squad killed its father. Kirby's Squeak Squad, as we all know, it's a fairly traditional platformer. It was released in the U.S. on the Nintendo DS on December 4th, 2006.
A date.
Very important date. It introduced us to the Squeaks, which are a gang of mouse-like thieves who steal Kirby's strawberry shortcake, thinking it's a treasure. In fact, they think it's like this ultimate power artifact. And so Kirby goes on this quest through Dreamland to get his strawberry shortcake back, and then in the process ends up saving the universe. So it's pretty cool. It's a traditional Kirby action, side-scrolling, platforming action where he can like store copy abilities of his enemies, but he can also combine them, which is like a kind of unique thing for this game, kind of the first you've seen of that. He could combine like a fire attack with a sword ability and then make a fire sword. Very interesting. Developed by HAL Laboratories and Flagship, and from what I can understand, Flagship actually did a large portion of the work. An interview with somebody from HAL at Nintendo Power said that they made Squeak Squad just from the extra money they made on sales of the GBA game Amazing Mirror, which is another Kirby game. So like the profit they had on that game they used to make this game. But it was also very low quality. So it was not received very well, got very low reviews. It's based on the forums that people were talking about. People did not like this game. Also, it was, like I said, Flagship developed it. It was their last game, coincidentally. Wow. But interestingly enough, Flagship has a legacy that I thought was very impressive. So Clock Tower 3 they worked on, the Dino Crisis series. They worked on Legend of Zelda Oracle of Seasons. Like, they helped out with these games.
Oh, okay.
They did 2 early drafts of, like, Resident Evil 4's story that were both thrown out. So they're used to rejection. Also, the developer of this game was a guy named Takashi Hamamura. And this was the last game he directed, even though he remained in the industry. So he's had work in the industry, but this was his last game. So, as I said earlier, Kirby Squeak Squad killed the careers of his father. It's also a very hard game to say. And also, in conclusion, I don't think we'd have life on Earth without this game.
Really? Ooh. Beautiful.
We screwed up. Did you have any questions about Teenage Zombies or Squeak Squad?
But of course.
Okay.
Well, actually, I don't know. Squeak Squad, I think, kind of speaks for itself. But I was curious about, Reiner, I'm getting a Lost Vikings vibe from this. Are you picking one character and going through all the way, or is this like Trine? Can I swap?
Yeah, you could switch your characters. It's very platformy based, but not like Lost Vikings. No puzzle elements really, just kind of basic move from left to right.
Okay. Yeah, I'm caught up.
All right.
Thanks though. Thanks for checking back in.
Yeah.
Reed will have you know that super profitable game, Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, developed by Dimps, Sonic Rush developers.
Interesting.
We're Dimps brothers. Jeff Cork.
Hi.
Whenever you're ready, sir.
Whenever I'm ready. Well, first I want to preface, you don't have to start the clock. I would say, Brandon Jones, you're having a very handsome day today.
Oh.
And I like your shirt. Yeah, your shirt's very nice. I have the different color version of it, but it looks great on you.
I don't know about this. I don't know about this.
You're doing an exceptional job, and thank you so much for appearing on our humble show. Okay, you can start the clock.
Did you get that mail order check I sent you, by the way?
Okay. All right. November 14th, 2006. A game is released that Game Informer magazine, in its review, says, in the end, Sonic Nuts will love it. Everyone else should stay away. What is that game? Why, it's Sonic the Hedgehog, also known as Sonic 06. So basically, at the time, we call it Sonic 06 now, but it was just called Sonic the Hedgehog, right? Because Sega had high aspirations for this one. They saw it kind of as a reboot for the series because it had kind of fallen apart hard times, as Hansen told us, in past his prologue. And this was at a time when the character was experiencing a milestone anniversary, the 15th anniversary in his life. So they thought that was approaching. They said, wouldn't it be cool if in the year 2006 we released a game that kind of gave everything we want about Sonic, where it's going, and all that kind of stuff. And as we all know, it's kind of become an unfortunate punchline in the games industry. At this point, like even Sega makes fun of it, like in the Sonic Runners game. If you try to enter Sonic 06 as your character's name, it says, please enter a name that does not contain forbidden words or phrases. Sega delisted the game from the Xbox Marketplace in 2010, apparently because they said it gave the series a bad name. Anyway, but it's easy to dunk on it, but ultimately it started off with great intentions. Sega had an ambitious idea of incorporating physics into the platformer, and as you all know, didn't work out super well. So its pedigree includes Shun Nakamura, who's the lead game designer. Before that, he worked on Samba de Amigo, and then Yuji Naka, the series creator, was producer. And this was originally, the team was assembled at the end of 2004. Anniversary was 2006, so they did not have a whole lot of time, which is something that I can completely relate to. Development began in earnest in 2005, and they had their first public showing of the game at E3 2005. There was a demo that featured some first-person segments. People were super excited about it. I'm talking about the PlayStation 3 version in particular, which was the main SKU. Had a higher frame rate than the 360 counterpart. So at some point, Sega decided that they wanted to release the game on the 360 as well and the Wii, but then realized, oh crap, the Wii cannot do this. It's an underpowered system compared to the other two. So they ended up splitting the team, and that kind of hurt them in the long run there. That team eventually made Sonic and the Secret Rings was what the Wii team ended up making.
30-second warning.
30-second warning. Holy crap. So what happened then is they showed it at TGS later. People were still into it. Then at E3 2006, that people started to realize, there's some problems with this. The movement wasn't as smooth. Sonic clung to things that the players didn't intend him to, and it wasn't great overall. And then producer Yuji Naka leaves Sonic team. And at that point, Sega had committed to a 15-year gimmick because they promised Microsoft a holiday 2006 release. And there was a version of the Xbox Live Marketplace, a demo, that was actually an improved version, but those changes didn't make it into the finished product.
Oh, weird.
Because they didn't have time. And Silver the Hedgehog was originally...
Speaking of didn't have time.
Oh!
Silver the Hedgehog was originally a mink, and his name was Venice.
Okay. Beautiful. Mr. Jones.
Flawless.
Follow-up questions.
There's nothing I want to say, ask, or talk about concerning Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, just as a rule.
Duly noted.
But you have somebody over there who's a big fan, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm
sure.
Statistically speaking, if you have 9 people on staff, one of them
has to
identify as a Sonic 06 fan.
I think so. I think Ian probably. I think secretly.
They have not revealed themselves yet, but the moment that happens, I'll let you know.
Leo in the booth.
On our Twitter account.
You have the community choice, Civilization 3. They insisted upon this one. The random gods insisted the community get Civ 3.
That's right. It's probably going to be over 3 minutes, but I'll allow it.
All right, take it away.
Hello, GI. That's Game Informer. First, Civ 3 came out in October of 2001. At first, it was a completely single-player game that didn't offer any online matchmaking, a feature that some must have been expecting. This was addressed by a later expansion pack which added multiplayer to the game, making Civ 3 the first game in the series to have online matchmaking. Now, almost 18 years later, I think it's fun trying to imagine any recently released game tackling an online multiplayer as a side thought. Has that happened even once this generation? A couple of other things I found. Civ 3 was the first game in the series to introduce the culture mechanic and the option of a cultural victory. Sid Meier's Civilization board game was made in 2002 and based off of Civ 3. It offered historical fun for up to 6 players.
Oh.
I played that, me, Leo. As I type this on a generic Tuesday afternoon, I see that there are currently over 1,200 people playing the game on Steam. I don't know how this compares to other games, but for a game that was released almost 20 years ago, that seems like a lot. Finally, speaking of Steam, Civ 3 is home to one of my favorite Steam reviews. After 15,732 hours of playtime, Rosetree81 recommends this game. They report, it's a fun game. Smooches, Matthew S.
Thank you, Matthew S.
Thank you, Matthew S.
Thank you.
Next up, Adam Walker from Virginia Beach, Virginia, says fans of Civ 3 in Germany that were too impatient to wait for the developer Firaxis to develop a version in German began to translate the English version themselves. Civ 3 publisher Infogrames brought up an injunction for copyright infringement against the makers of the translated version. As a show of goodwill towards their fans, Infogrames paid for all the legal fees involved with the injunction, and the German version developed by Firaxis was later released. Game Informer review quote, Civilization is obviously meant for those with an attention span able to grasp things deeper than MTV's late-night programming.
Yeah.
But it's getting to the point where a flight simulator would be easier to master.
Oh.
Okay.
I get that. Yeah.
Fact. The game was #1 in sales the week it was released, but was pushed to #2 the following week by the classic video game juggernaut Backyard Baseball. Thank you, Adam Walker. Hey, Leo and crew, TM. Dylan from Providence, Rhode Island here. After some serious digging, I discovered that every game of Civ 3 ever played has actually spawned a parallel universe where those events are historical fact. Wow, every game really is interesting.
Wow, thanks.
Wow,
Right, man. That's
crazy.
very informative.
When I heard Civ 3 called out as the community game for every game is interesting, I was stunned because it is my favorite game ever made. There's no way I haven't put less than 500 hours into it. Anyway, interesting fact about Civ 3, it is the only Civ game where the leader's appearances change over each era. That was from Matt A. I read it as one email, it was 2.
You got it.
Good morning, GI. Tyler from Rhode Island writes in. The game was also laden with interesting Easter eggs. For example, with some finagling on the player's part, New Istanbul can be renamed to Not Constantinople. In Civ 3, if you play a certain game mode on Elvis's 69th birthday, which we all know is January 8th, 2004, flag units will be replaced with Elvis units, featuring new character models and all. Sid Meier, thank you very much. Thank you, Tyler from Rhode Island.
That's good.
Last one from Chris Lee. Hello, Game Informers. I have zero experience with the Civ series, so I'm not too sure if what I find interesting is just common sense. And to me personally, what I found interesting about this turn-based empire-building game was the picture of an Elvis impersonator at the end credits. Additionally, I've learned Elvis has appeared in every Civ game in some capacity, which led me to watch Civ 2's lo-fi Elvis videos, which were a blast.
A blast.
Thank you, community!
30 seconds.
Timeless. Reeves, as a big Civ fan, did you know that Elvis was in every one?
No, I didn't know that.
It's very weird. I went back and watched those lo-fi Elvis videos as you put it for Civ 2. It is surreal.
What are those videos like?
It's like a live-action guy impersonating Elvis, just doing like all these like leader commands.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's one of your advisors, or
He seems like an advisor.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
That makes sense.
Of course, Sid Meier loves Elvis. So why would it
That's
be any other
where
way?
he went.
Do you have any questions, Jones, for Leo in the booth that he'll be incapable of answering?
No, I'm good.
Thank you.
I mean, none obviously that I can ask. I mean, I'll just have to. Those questions I do have, I'll just have to just deal with. You know, go through the rest of my life, just kind of wondering.
Stuff them down inside.
There's nowhere I could go on the internet to look for more information about Civ 3. Unfortunately.
It's true. All right, Mr. Jones.
Yes.
Where are you leaning? Walk us through this.
Okay, well, I'm going to start, unfortunately, Jeff, with Sonic the Hedgehog. I know so much about that game. That game has just That game just keeps coming up. Like, I remember when we do much less countdowns, like top 10s at Easy Allies. We used to do at Game Trailers. We would do those like once a week. And it didn't matter what category we had. It just, here comes Sonic the Hedgehog 06 again. It's like a worthy contender. And like, we're like, surely we have the footage from the other countdown we did. Like, no, it's lost. Sorry, intern, you're going to have to play Sonic the Hedgehog. Like that game has just been a pun, a joke, a laughing stock for so many years. So compared to some of these interesting stories today, it didn't pique my interest as much. And Hanson, two Sonics cancel each other out. It's just you two Sonics out in the wild, that bump into each other.
It's like a Sonic boom.
That's exactly. They just implode upon each other. Although I do love hearing what each dev did compared to some of the points later in their career. I don't know if I want to whittle down to the winner to make it obvious. I'm really leaning towards Kirby Squeak Squad
as the winner.
Wow!
Because you had me at it was the last game from that developer and the last game that director directed. Something happened there. I'm sure there's more information we can get, but that is interesting to me. So many people walked away from so many things in their lives after that game was over. And it doesn't Civ 3, there's some weight to that. This is 3, this is Godfather 3. There's just so many things, obviously people expectations coming up but the fact that there's so much intrigue surrounding a portable Kirby game, I'm floored.
Wow.
I'm going to start. I'm going to Google like crazy after this podcast. I'm excited.
I had a game too.
Yes, it's not important.
Remember that?
Hey, you weren't last.
and I did, Reiner. I do like horror. I love gothic stuff. I love the spooky and supernatural. And so when you just before you even said anything, you just said that game title. I was already intrigued. But then
that's the best part of that game is the name. That's the only interesting part.
I think I think if I picked you, Reiner, it would be Selfish because I naturally gravitate towards those things. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is one of my favorite, old school Super Nintendo games. So
I actually agree with you. I thought Ben did a bang up job.
Hey, Kirby Squeak Squad, ladies and gentlemen, well done.
Two attempts at Resident Evil 4 story. Where do I even start there? That's
I want to see those, by the way.
Just on a napkin.
How do I look those up?
Yeah. Leon gets in trouble.
Did they invent Shadow Hook guy? I want to know.
Ooh.
It was on his head. Shadow head guy.
I'm so bummed out, ran out of time. Somebody had the interesting theory, leaving in a comment saying hey, why do you guys even have the time limit? Why not just make it as long as you want to go? Don't be unreasonable. Do we like the time limit?
Because you would talk forever.
I probably would. I interviewed over Twitter DMs people that made Blaze the Cat porn. I wanted to get to that level of granularity and weirdness with this, and we didn't have time, and it kills me.
You buried the lead, my friend.
I know! It's killing me, but that's fine. That's fine.
I think some kind of time limit does help you trim the fat, so to speak, get down to it.
You're right. And also, maybe the lesson is we should probably rehearse this ahead of time. Just in private, in front of the bathroom mirror, to actually set a timer on this sucker so some frame of reference. Did you really?
No.
Oh, damn it. Brandon Jones, anything else you'd like to plug, sir?
Where can we find you, by the way? Where can people find you?
You can find us at Easy Allies all over the place, Facebook, Twitter. We stream a lot on Twitch, twitch.tv/Easy Allies. Obviously, we're on YouTube. All the stuff that we stream goes to a separate channel called Easy Allies Plays, if you want to check that stuff out as well. But easyallies.com, and then especially Patreon, because we are crowdfunded. And if there's ever a time to come and check out our stuff, we just moved into a brand new studio this week. We had a Tuesday night, we had a group stream that is now up on youtube.com/Easy Allies. Played Monopoly for 3.5 hours on PS4, and we posted our first podcast. It'll go up Friday publicly for everybody, which is tomorrow, and slowly but surely all of our shows will be rolling out on the new set, and we want to hear what people think of our new set, and we're looking to make it better. We finally have our own space. The boys have moved out of this very empty room. I don't know how echoey it sounds.
That's good.
But there's no furniture, there's nothing. I got a desk here and a TV, and that's it.
Oh, that's so bizarre.
But it's going to be a big, crazy year for Easy Alley, so come check us out.
Exciting
Congrats.
time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Really appreciate it.
This was great. I learned so much. I love it. One of the things that I miss working in an office, back in the day at Game Trailers, is people like Justin Spear and Ryan Stevens, just had this font of just crazy knowledge. And so I love when people bring up random stuff. This was a pleasure.
That's perfect. Hey, thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show podcast. Be sure to tune in next Thursday. We'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.